Mm-mm-mm-mm. Hey folks, how we doing? How we doing? Happy Thursday. I almost had my days mixed up. Let me see. Let me set my chat thing up here correctly. Um, I need some sound check. My sound was acting a little crazy yesterday, apparently. So, somebody let me know if my sound is right. Um, yeah, all that great stuff. Anyway, just as a heads up, it is storming over here, like really bad. So if this connection start acting a little crazy, it's the weather. It ain't me, I promise. Look, because I don't even see my chat moving right now. Um, let's see. Is this thing live? Let's make sure. I don't see what my chat is doing. Hold on. Um, it should be live. Yeah, we're live. Um, yeah, I don't see my chat interacting yet. What's going on? I guess it's working. Okay. Um, yeah. This thing on for real or what? It's on. It's on. Okay, y'all are there. My bad. All right, it's stuff is a little bit delayed. It didn't catch up on its own. But anyway, like I said, the weather's a little out of pocket, out of nowhere. Look, it was a nice day, and then at about I don't know 7 o'clock, here came that that lightning and thunder started coming in. That rain. I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. All right. Anyway, just for some additional announcements, like I posted, for those in the Miami area. They're screening my short film "Pull Over So I Can Hit You" at the Urban Film Festival, so you can definitely check that out. That's going to be on August 31st. I forgot the name of the venue already. Let me get it together. But that's going to be around 4:20 p.m. And it is premiering at the Lyric Theater. Um, that's where it's going to be. Lyric Theater, August 31st, 4:20 p.m. Now, listen, it is a short film, so you have to actually be there on time. Short films are not 2 hours or an hour 30 or an hour 25. So, listen, you get there at 4. The movie's only about 13 minutes. So, look, you get there after about, 4:35. Movie's over. So, that's all I'm saying, right? And like I said, like I told you, I've been very transparent, right? I got really sick in July, couldn't eat for like 3 weeks, lost a lot of weight. First of all, I lost more weight than I thought I lost. I thought it was only like 10 pounds, man. But then I went to my godmom's on Sunday. I almost cried when I got off the scale. So just to be transparent, because that's how we are on this channel, I was 152 when I left to go to LA. All right. And now I'm down to 133. I have not been this small since, probably 2018, right? I'm still pissed about it. All that gym and going for nothing, but it's fine. I start back in the gym after my trips I'm going on. By the way, y'all are not going to see me for like the next 2 weeks because I'm hitting 3 corners of the country, right? So we're doing the Miami first for the film festival. Then I'm going actually to Washington State, which would be really cool. I haven't been home since 2018, so I'm gonna go do a few things, visit Spanaway, visit my father's gravesite because I haven't been since the funeral, which was 2015. See some old friends, and then I finish in New York, right? In New York for the Usher show because I knew not to go to the DC show because it sold out too fast. And so yeah, I'm gonna be kind of running around until about the 11th to 12th. So that's just y'all heads up already. So don't be on here cussing me out if I'm nowhere to be found and something crazy happens between now and the 13th. All right. Anyway, getting to our actual conversations here. Like we said, we know it's election season. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this video specifically on election stuff because I just did that on the last live. And you can check out the episode from the rewind that we did yesterday, which was interesting, interesting conversation, different viewpoints. But I do want people to understand that it's really important to kind of lock in. So for those who are planning to vote, make sure that you're even still registered. There's certain states that have been acting a little weird, Texas, Florida, Georgia, a few other ones, where they have been purging the voter blocks and everything, especially those who have been deemed inactive. So make sure that you're still registered, first of all. And you can also, I think the important part, which what I was saying yesterday, is that at this point, it's really important to know what is on the ballot, especially locally. So you can definitely go to like ballot.vote.org. And I also say, if you want more insight about like what those positions mean, then I say visit thurgoodmarshallinstitute.org. That will give you a whole rundown of all of the positions that typically people run for, as well as giving you access. It'll just link you back to vote.org, but it will let you know exactly what's on the ballot where you live, which is very important because we know this is bigger than the president and Congress. Because there's positions like even the coroner sometimes is an elected position. Why does that matter? We have to think about what happens sometimes when there's a really mysterious crime, right? Think of Kendrick Johnson in Georgia, the kid who they claim climbed into the wrestling mat and suffocated, when clearly something still doesn't add up with that. But in those conversations, that coroner plays a pivotal role into what's happening and how things are going to be perceived, or how things are going to be looked at, and what the end result will be, whether there's going to be a case or a trial or a further investigation, or if they're going to close something, right? Or even when we talk about, the questions surrounding the death of Sandra Bland, like the coroners play a role in some of these things too. So in some states, the coroner is actually an elected position. So those kind of things you want to pay attention to. So like I said, if you're not really familiar with a lot of the positions outside of mayor, governor, Congress, that type of stuff, then I would definitely say visit thurgoodmarshallinstitute.org. And they can give you a full rundown of all the positions, like county supervisor, different things within council members, or whether that's specific to a ward or specific to an at-large position, school board, all kind of things, sheriff, judges, like it plays a role, right? So I think it's really important to kind of just pay attention to those things. Because even listen, people are pissed off about the whole Supreme Court kind of shutting down the student loan stuff again. Because, to be honest, 1 in 10 people in this country have student loan debt, right? And so, this has been an effort from the current administration for the last 2 or 3 years to try to relieve some of the stress that comes with people who have a lot of, debt from trying to pursue their education. And unfortunately, SCOTUS was like, too bad, get over it. Y'all are not about to spend $450 billion bailing people out. Nope. They only do that for the banks. So again, stuff like that plays a role. Like, when we're talking about SCOTUS or Supreme Court, those are appointed positions by people who are elected. Why are the ads already starting? So that's that. And then also make sure that you are registered to vote by the different deadlines. All the states have different deadlines. There's deadlines for early voting. There's deadlines for general voting. There's deadlines for absentee and mail-in. So really look into all that. Don't wait till the last minute and be left out in the rain. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Anyway, interesting day today, because there's a lot of dates that tend to be dates that people remember. One thing about today is also, this is again the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, which still kind of a sore spot to talk about. But I just say for me, because this took place when I was about to be a senior in high school when Hurricane Katrina happened. And I just always say there's certain images that I'm just never going to forget, right? By the time I was that age, because I think I was about 17 at that point, I was already kind of aware that things in the world were different, and that what had been presented to me as far as us living in this society where everybody had prosperity and everybody had a fair shot and a fair chance, and a lot of the ills of the past weren't affecting us in the modern era. Like, I had been brought up into that space, and that's what a lot of me and my peers had thought. But around that time was when I was getting, I guess you call the Great Awakening, right? And so again, those are just images I'm never going to forget. I'll always remember just the lack of urgency coming from government officials in response to rescuing the people, and even in response to what was going to happen with the evacuation. Like, the evacuation was such a botched approach because they didn't know what to do. Like, you got this bit of information and the information changed, and well, it's not going to be a big deal. It's fine. And then by the time they wanted people to evacuate, so many people were stuck behind because it was too late. And the sad part is, like, of those 200,000 that stayed, many of them were elderly or senior citizens. Many were disabled. Many were in a position where they couldn't afford to get out because they had no way to get out. They might not have had a car. They might not have had the kind of money to just pay for a flight or a train ticket or whatever to get out. And then there were some people who couldn't get out of their jobs. Folks was like, you still coming into work, right? And so we just saw so many people who really just got screwed over in that. And just the lack of empathy that came from a lot of people in the United States, because they saw, especially New Orleans, as an area of just poor Black people. And, oh, well, they're just used to chaos anyway. This is doing them a favor. This is giving them an opportunity to start a new life. Like, people were just so cold and dismissive. And somehow I kept trying to blame a lot of things on the people that were there. Like, first of all, when you're talking about a levee breaking, that's a conversation of infrastructure. And this is why, again, when we're talking about elections, it's important to make sure you put people in office who are all about repairing our very dated and I'll say falling apart infrastructure that we have right now. Like, again, when we're talking about even just our bridges, right? A lot of our current bridges have a D or low rate, like a D or lower rating, which is crazy, right? We saw what happened in Baltimore. Now, I will say that's more of an anomaly because a big old tanker just hit the bridge, but that's also the conversation about those barriers that should have been around those big giant columns way before the ship ever got there. Different conversation for a different day. But again, those levees that it had broken, there had already been insight and conversations saying, hey, it's time to kind of do something about these levees. They ain't doing too hot. And it's kind of like, just pass the baton, push the stuff down. We'll get to it when we get to it. And then boom, here comes a Category 5 storm. And what makes it interesting is, understand, by the time Katrina hit the area, it wasn't even a category 5 storm anymore. It was a category 3. So things could have been even worse, which is crazy. And so you had, the estimate is 1,833 people passed on, but there's never been an official toll of how many people died, because there's still some people who are unaccounted for, even today. $161 billion in damage. And so again, I just always say, like, it's just crazy how life can really just flip like overnight, right? And I think the saddest part is for the people who became displaced. I don't think people understand the experience of when on Monday or a Tuesday you're hanging out with your friends, you don't go to your favorite restaurant, you're at the movie theater. 2 days later, you're evacuating, and then you evacuate, but you never come back, right? You resettle somewhere else because there's nothing to come back to depending on which ward you were in. And everything that you knew, as far as your friends, your neighborhood, what you grew up around, your favorite spot on the corner to go and get a sandwich, or go get the jalapeno poppers or everything like that, right? That favorite playground you used to play on or play in as a child, right? That random dog in the neighborhood that was always going to bark at you when you walk past, but wasn't going to do nothing. Like, all those kind of things are gone, like overnight, and you never come back to it. And you're supposed to just build a new life. And it's hard to build a new life when in the back of your mind, you're still thinking about coming back to what was, but what was isn't there anymore. Like, that's a really hard experience for a lot of people. And I talked about this before in another video, when we talked about the documentary Katrina Babies, and I think people should still check that out. I think Katrina Babies does a great job of just highlighting the human experience, right? Because I think sometimes when it comes to natural disasters, because the U.S. has so many of them, you're always hearing about a tornado somewhere. You're always hearing about a hurricane, well, not earthquakes as much, or we hear about them, but they haven't been as bad, fortunately. But, it's flooding or whatever happens. But because it happens so much, a lot of times people kind of brush off the human aspect. It's just like, oh, okay, well, it's the Midwest. You expect a tornado to hit. But I understand each and every person has a story. Each and every person that's affected has a lived experience that only they can tell after experiencing something like that. And so the documentary does a great job of kind of humanizing that entire experience. And I know for me, because the following year was my freshman year at Howard, there were so many students that were classmates of mine who were from New Orleans and were there during Katrina, who sat on their ceilings or sat on the roofs, right? Who watched people, family members drown, right? Who remember sitting on the roof 3, 4, 5 days, scorching heat, no clouds, not even no rain, watching the media helicopters fly over, but there's no food coming, right? People who had to stay in the Superdome, right? And I understand that was a scary experience as well. The power's going out, pitch black in a giant dorm, or about to say dorm, in a giant stadium that's covered with a roof with a bunch of people you don't know. Wild, right? So yeah, just some things to think about. By the way, we have a lot of like celebrity related content, but I want to get through the heavier stuff first. And then we will get to the lighter topics. Let me get a sip of this water real quick, and then I'm going to read the chat for a second, and then we are going to get to this Breonna Taylor conversation that I wanted to have last week, but here we are. All right. Let's see what we got here. What up, Avocado Queen? What up, Alan? What up, Nikita? Doc McStuffins, what up, what up, what up? Omega said, oh no, sorry to hear that. 22 pounds ain't no joke. It ain't. And I didn't realize I lost it until, because the first, and this is about when I was sick. The very first week when it was really bad, I didn't eat at all. Like, I think I had a few, like Ritz crackers. And I was trying to drink water, but I couldn't hold water down at the time. So really, I spent like a week just sleeping, because I had no energy, to get up and walk down the hall. And I had to like force myself to start like taking stuff. And then amen for DoorDash, which is so overpriced, because I didn't have the energy to even walk to like the store or drive or anything. Then that's when I started doing like insurance, stuff like that. But I didn't notice that I had lost so much weight until when I was finally kind of able to move around, and I attempted to try to go back to work, and my clothes weren't fitting right. That my belt, normally I only got to do about two holes with the belt, and I was doing 4. I said I wasn't doing 4 even like 10 years ago. Wait a minute. Yeah, and then I just saw how I looked at my clothes. I was like, oh man. And I just noticed my face had gotten a lot more like chiseled. Even I ain't gonna lie, I like this jawline. I ain't seen this in a while, so yeah. But I ain't realized. But no, I want my weight back, okay? So yeah, y'all are gonna be with me during this journey, because my goal is to at least put in about 8 pounds before November, right? We'll get there when we get there. But yeah, at least I got my health back. At least I'm not dead or nothing. So bigger things to complain about. Let's see. What do you think to Trump promising the government or your insurance will pay for IVF? All I know is he's not my candidate. I don't really have much to go on with him because we've seen how he moves, and there's a lot of things he said that haven't been true. So for me, it's hot air. And at the same time, he still comes from a party that kind of wants to gut all that anyway. So even if he wanted to do some of the things he's saying he does, the party doesn't represent that. So I don't know, but good luck to whoever wants to run behind that. At this point, that man is unserious. I totally understand people who may have a gripe with the two major parties, or they have their concerns about Democrats and stuff. But my thing is, I hear that, but when I'm looking at what the other option is, I'm like, can y'all at least make that argument when it's not Cuckoo Man on the other side? Like, nothing about that man is serious to me, and I'm like, how are we doing these mental gymnastics right now? Like, I can't. But enjoy. Let's see. Exactly. I see him Beauty said Trump is doing or saying anything to get elected. Like, and every politician does that. But the thing is, there's no merit behind a lot of the things that man does. He just says any and everything, right? And makes up stupid things like the whole thing of, we're going to make it so you can say Merry Christmas again. When were we not allowed to say it? It's not like you say Merry Christmas on the sidewalk and a SWAT team is going to come out and take you to jail. That's never been anything that was outlawed. Like, just stupid things like that. And that was something he ran on the first time. And then within the first 2 months of his administration being in power, here come these commercials. Thank you, Mr. Trump, for allowing us to say Merry Christmas again. I was like, this is so stupid. Stupid. Man, anyway. Space No Air said, our infrastructure is about 20 years old. And I'll say that's kind of the case for a lot of major metropolitan cities, but I feel like the more rural you go and the more industrial as far as cities you go, it gets even older. So there are some places like, Atlanta, which can kind of keep a lot of their stuff up to date, right? I mean, there's some stuff they could make a little bit better infrastructure wise, but they're kind of a city where they kind of have their stuff together. DC, similar as well. Chicago, depending on which section, but then there's places like where you go to like a Pittsburgh, or you go to like a Eugene, Oregon, or you go to like, Cleveland, right? Things start to change a little bit. So it depends on where people are, but overall, infrastructure in this country needs a serious overhaul. So, man, do I think Katrina was the first domino that started the new black thinking? I'm probably wording it wrong. I think generationally, maybe for my age demo, but I think for people who are older than me, they had already been shaking the table at least since the LA riots. And really, if we want to go deeper, for even people older than them, they had been shaking the table since the Liberty City riots of 1980, right? Like I said, I think there's different checkpoints depending on where people are in life and how old people are and what it is that they remember. Because, as you get older, your opinions and viewpoints start to shift and change depending on what you experience in life. You know what I mean? But I think for my generation, a lot of people in my age bracket, that was the wake-up call for a lot of folks. Like, what the heck is going on, right? And I specifically remember even, dang, that is some loud thunder. I don't know if y'all can hear it. I specifically remember even being in class, right? This is a week or two after the storm has started or taking place, and there's still people that, need help. And listening to even classmates I have just have no empathy at all. And I'm like, see, that's why I'm not going to my 20-year reunion, okay? I won't be going. I got smoke for some people the more I think about it. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, take your time, Pastor. Brown Skin Beauty said, well, with Thanksgiving coming up, you should be all good. I haven't even made Thanksgiving plans. I don't even think I've celebrated Thanksgiving in like 3 or 4 years. But I still go and visit family and stuff. But I'll probably eat good around Thanksgiving. That'd be good. Let's see. So Seeing the Sunset said you had food poisoning, right? What do you think you ate that brought food poisoning? Well, we thought it was food poisoning, but food poisoning doesn't last for 2 or 3 days. So it definitely turned into like gastritis and a few other things. Because like I said on the last live, my blood pressure was even out of whack. Like I'd move in the room, be spinning. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, right? So I had to get some medicines for that. Oh, and then what pissed me off? Them hospital visits, they sent me like a bill for like $900. I said, wait a minute, y'all you gave me a virtual appointment. One of them was virtual, right? The first time was urgent care because I went to urgent care first when, I was like, okay, something still ain't right here. So it was urgent care, then an actual appointment, but it was virtual with my actual doctor. And then I did an ultrasound. And mind you, the bill for the ultrasound ain't came yet. And this is with insurance. I said, you know what? Y'all tried it. You didn't charge me $900 for a Zoom meeting. Be for real. All right. Somebody said the Baltimore and Potomac Tunnel for Amtrak need replacing. It's 150 years old. Look, don't tell me that. I'm about to be in that tunnel tomorrow. If I'm flying out of BWI, so I'm gonna take that train to Baltimore and fly from BWI. Man. Somebody said, "You sure you didn't have the Rona?" No, I didn't have the Rona. I didn't have COVID. No respiratory anything. It was only all specifically gastric. Yeah. Okay, I gotta keep it moving, y'all. Breonna Taylor. So I'm gonna read the article first. Y'all know this is a story we have followed since everything took place. I've probably done a handful of videos on Breonna Taylor just because I feel like not enough people talk about this situation. And I say that because there's so many additional Breonna Taylors that have taken place. And so it's just interesting that her story doesn't really, doesn't carry the same weight as some of the other ones. But yeah, all right. Judge's logic defying order brands Breonna Taylor's protector her killer. It is disappointing that a Kentucky federal judge dismissed felony charges against 2 former police officers charged in the death of Breonna Taylor during a 2020 raid. But the decision by U.S. District Judge Charles R. Simpson III to place blame for the 26-year-old emergency room technician's death squarely on boyfriend Kenneth Walker III defies logic, and it reinforces the difficulty of holding police accountable even when one detective has already pleaded guilty to lies and cover-ups. Walker shot once from his legally owned gun as Louisville police burst through Taylor's apartment door unannounced on March 13th at 12:45 a.m. Police returned fire 32 times, with several bullets hitting Taylor. Her death added fuel to international protests over police killings that summer. Walker's decision to shoot is a superseding cause of her death, the judge said. There is no direct link between the warrantless entry and Taylor's death. The link appears obvious. If officers had not lied that a drug dealer lived there, the shooting would not have happened. If they had just knocked on the door and said, "It's the police," we would have opened the door, Walker said in an Instagram post on the ruling. Also, in a legal system that endorses stand your ground laws, why is Walker being criticized for exercising his right to self-defense? Why single him out when prosecutors dropped charges against him for wounding an officer in the leg and the city of Louisville reached a $2 million settlement with him over police misconduct? Will the next argument be that Taylor is responsible for her own death just for being asleep in her bed when the police show up? Federal prosecutors intend to appeal the judge's ruling, according to Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer. The only thing we can do at this point is continue to be patient, she said in a statement. The appeal will extend the life of the case, but as we've always maintained, we will continue to fight until we get full justice. What this means right now is that former Louisville Police Detective Joshua James and former Sergeant Kyle Meany, who handled the warrant but were not at the shooting, face only misdemeanor charges that could end with fines. James and Meany were charged with depriving Taylor of her constitutional right to be free of unreasonable searches. Simpson, a senior judge appointed by President Ronald Reagan, said the facts did not justify the felony charge. James is still charged with conspiring with another detective to cover up the false warrant and of falsifying a document to mislead investigators. Meany is still charged with making a false statement to the FBI investigators. This tragedy began with the police efforts to arrest Taylor's ex-boyfriend, DeMarcus Glover, for drug dealing. He was arrested the night of the raid at another location. Former Detective Kelly Godlett pleaded guilty in federal court to lying on the warrant for Taylor's apartment by saying it was Glover's primary address and that they had documented that he kept drugs and cash there. Officers also lied about the need for more aggressive no-knock warrants, said Goodlett, expected to be sentenced in April. 2 officers who did the actual shooting in the apartment have not been charged. A grand jury did not indict them after the Kentucky Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, that person, did not recommend charges. Another officer who shot 10 bullets into the apartment building, endangering other residents, was acquitted in a state trial and won a mistrial in federal court. He is expected to be retried in October. You wonder, where is the accountability? A Louisville activist said. An attorney told WHAS 11 after the judge's ruling, What is in place to prevent an officer from making up a warrant and causing someone's death? What do we do? Louisville government officials have taken some responsibility. A $12 million settlement of a wrongful death suit included promises of improved crisis intervention, more citizen oversight, and an early warning system for troubled officers. The city is also winding down negotiations over a federal consent decree that will place a judge in charge of overseeing overdue police reforms in 36 areas of operation, including training, administration, community response, and employee management. A 2-year investigation into the department also exposed violations of residents' constitutional rights, illegal stops, detentions, and arrests, excessive force with neck restraints, stun guns, and dog bites, inadequate attention to sexual assault and domestic violence cases, yelling and name-calling, which escalates conflicts. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, I don't know why I was saying Mark Guerin, Merrick Garland called the report an affront to the people of Louisville who deserve better. Kenneth Walker also deserves better. While it is well within the judge's power and expertise to determine whether the police actions were felonies, it is unfair to blame Walker as Taylor's killer when he tried to be her protector. Without his eyewitness testimony, Breonna Taylor would not be remembered as a promising life unfairly ended, but written off as another drug-dealing casualty. It's a lot to take in, right? The crazy part, and this goes back to, I know we keep talking about elections. I'm always throwing this in here. I want you guys to just take note of how policy still affects us, right? So the judge that ruled in this case was a judge that was appointed by Reagan. How long ago was Reagan in office, right? From 1981 to 1988, right? That's 35, 40 years ago. So when I say, again, that the decisions that we make now are still going to affect us 20, 30, and 40 years from now, this is what we're talking about. Because, again, when we're looking at the logistics of long-term policy, things will follow us. That's why I'm always saying, like, I need people to start thinking long-term and not just live in the moment when it comes to these elections and everything, because people are in their feelings about whatever. Like, again, strategic, please. Can we be strategic with how we move? Because, again, this is some nonsense. That judge clearly has a bias. And honestly, Reagan probably was the worst person to ever appoint any kind of judges, if we want to be honest, right? There's a reason why Black people voted against him at a rate of 91%. Anyway. But when you're looking at Breonna Taylor's situation, right, the saddest part is the first thing that you saw happen is what? She becomes vilified, and so does the boyfriend, right? That's what happened in the media. They vilified her and the boyfriend. They wanted to run and latch onto this narrative that she was a drug dealer so bad. And even a lot of Black folks, sadly, bit into the cookie as well. And, see, that's why you got to watch who you keep around, something. And it's like, she's not even with the person the police initially were looking for. And the story already tells you right then and there. The police purposely lied. Right? They knew that the person they were looking for did not live with Breonna Taylor. She had no associations with that ex-boyfriend. She was with a whole new person, living her best life, right? But because they were so pressed to close the case and kick the door in and do what they do, they said, well, we'll just lie on our intel and we'll just go in there anyway, right? And so then that's what ends up happening, right? And that's why I'm always like, when it comes to like the Second Amendment disciples, it's like, y'all are so quiet because we watched them just vilify Kenneth as well, right? Well, he shouldn't have shot at the police. And I'm like, I think we need to go back and put ourselves into the place of what that must be like when someone kicks your door in at 12:45 a.m., right? Just put 2 and 2 together. You're minding your business, sleeping good, right? Like when the blanket is the perfect temperature, the pillow's like the perfect pressure and the perfect element of coolness, right? Good sleep, right? Especially, look, and he probably was, they probably lay next to each other. So, a good, nice, warm thigh to lay next to, right? Just good sleep. Out of nowhere, you hear this loud commotion, a door just gets busted, right? Door gets busted in. You don't know what that is because the police never announced themselves. You don't know if this is a home invasion or not. And like I said before, a lot of times when police do these raids, it's very disorderly. All you hear is 20 different people. You don't know what's happening. And you also have to think about the fact that if you've been sleeping and you've been awakened abruptly, some of us, our dots don't connect right away. I know you wake me up out of my sleep abruptly. It takes me about 45 seconds for everything to center itself. True story one time. Unrelated, this is a far stretch, but there was a time I was like 5 years old. My parents had hosted like a party. They were having company, and they normally when they had a party, I had to stay in my room, but they let me come down that night. Anyway, I fell asleep on the couch, and so my parents had woke me up to tell me, go to bed. And so I was so out of it that I went to the kitchen and I peed in the trash can because I thought it was the bathroom, right? And they thought that was the funniest thing. I was like, Lord. But again, like when you're awakened abruptly, sometimes the dots don't always quite connect. So with Kenneth waking up, all you hear is noise and unannounced police coming in. He's probably thinking home invasion. Let me protect myself and my woman. And so, yes, I'm gonna pull out my gun and start shooting. And what happens? He shoots. And then what do? They shoot 32 times, right? Just spray everybody, shoot everything. They don't even know what they're aiming at. Just shooting to shoot, right? And so again, that's crazy. And then after all of that, not only do you lose your girlfriend, right? They didn't even give him a lot of sympathy while they were cuffing him, right? He's crying and boo-hooing because the girl is in the bed, no longer alive, and they're so busy trying to cuff him and talk about where the drugs are, and there's no drugs in there. And then you get your name drugged through the media, and then your identity is mistaken with somebody else just because everybody wants to believe that you are a bad person by association with Blackness, right? That's crazy to me. And so it's just like, man, Anyway, I always say people should go back and revisit my actual video on Breonna Taylor because I just want people to realize, like, please go and look at the comment section, right? That comment section tells you all you need to know about the United States and how people see us, right? Crazy. Don't make no freaking sense. All right, before I take a break, I want to go to this Noah Bush story. I'm gonna just get through two of the harder ones real quick, just knock them out together. Let's just rip off the Band-Aid and we're gonna keep going from there. So with Noah Bush, this is the young man. He was about 8 years old that had mysteriously drowned, right? And there have been questions surrounding his death. An 11-year-old white boy confessed to drowning an 8-year-old black Georgia boy, right? The boy is now facing criminal charges. After a chilling 4-month investigation, the suspect behind the drowning of an 8-year-old black boy in Georgia has finally come forth with a confession. Sadly, the suspect is not much older than the victim. Back in May, Noah Bush mysteriously disappeared after going with an 11-year-old and a 10-year-old to a restricted construction site in Wayne County, police said. The day after his family reported him missing, police said discovered his remains in a borrow. Police said they discovered his remains in a borrow pit by the construction site, which was filled with water. Authorities originally ruled Noah's death to be an accident, assuming he had taken off his shoes and slipped into the deep part of the pit. However, his family claimed the story didn't add up because he was afraid of deep water, per WSB-TV. The report said they then hired an attorney to privately investigate their suspicion that the white kids with whom Noah wandered off targeted him in a racially motivated attack. This is the consequence of when you don't stand against hate, said attorney Francis Johnson, per the Daily Mail. Later, his cause of death was determined to be a homicide by drowning, the report says. The Brunswick Judicial Circuit District Attorney then decided there was probable cause to arrest the two boys. Thursday, after 3 months of investigation and trials, a hearing for the 11-year-old, charged already with involuntary manslaughter and simple battery, unveiled the truth behind Noah Bush's death. This 11-year-old admitted under oath that he, in fact, led Noah Bush down to the clay pits, pushing him into the water, and ultimately held his head under the water until he drowned. Said Francis Johnson, a law partner with the David Bozeman Johnson Law Group. A Wayne County judge ordered the 10-year-old to 2 years of confinement on charges of concealing the death of another criminal trespassing and ordered the 11-year-old who confessed to serve a 2-year sentence in a detention facility. They're not the only ones facing punishment. The report says the 11-year-old's mother was also placed in police custody for giving false statements to the police about what happened to Noah. Boy, I tell you. What's interesting for me is at 11 years old, how are you in that kind of space in life where you've lost your sense of humanity, where you can go and lead, like, you know, out of spite, lead some, you know what you're doing. Because some people are like, oh, maybe it was an accident. They're just playing in the water. Because, you know, sometimes kids play in the pool and hold each other down. This is not a pool, right? This is muddy, runoff, river, water, big old ditch, just rain. This is not a pool. This is not a whimsical place to splash in, right? But to lead a kid down there, push them in, and then hold them down. And understand, to drown someone, it's not like you hold them down and they drown right away. This is something where that person is probably fighting back. And there's at least 10, 15, possibly 20 seconds of a fight before things go down. How at 11 do you get to that point in life where you're fine with that, right? And the other part, because some really want to say, well, it's an accident. I'm like, no, it's not. Because you know what? At 11, you would have known to go get help. And with that, first of all, holding somebody down until they stop moving, you know what you're doing. But even let's just say he didn't and things went wrong. At 11 years old, you're old enough to know, go and get some help, go and get somebody. There's an adult somewhere nearby, you know, as opposed to going and lying about it. And then not only that, you go and hide and you know that this boy is missing. You know everybody's looking for him. You ain't saying nothing. And now your mama's in on it. Okay. It reminds me of the affluenza team. Remember the white kid who drove the car, killed a few people and everything else like that. And then when he went to court, the response was, well, he suffers from affluenza because he's never had to want for anything and he's successful and wealthy, or his family is, you know, he doesn't understand discipline and right and wrong and all this other stuff like that. And the judge is like, are you serious? And then the mom, you know, he was on like probation and the mom was still helping him like do things that violate probation. She had drove him to Mexico and all this stuff. Like, that is crazy to me, right? And for me, it's like, how do you even get to that place? And that's wild to me. And it just goes to show that, you know, the ills of society, especially when we're talking about race, children move just like their parents, to be honest. A lot of them do. And the kind of hatred you can have at 11 to go and kill some random kid, right? That's something you got from your parents. That's something they've already instilled in you, right? We are in a space where you really have to watch your back all the time. Like I understand why some parents move the way they move and they don't let their kids hang with everybody. I understand, because how? Like, how do you sleep at night? Especially the other mother. Because listen, if the tables were turned, and that was two black kids that drowned a white boy, can we go back to George Stinney? Remember George Stinney? That was the kid, 14 years old, was accused of sexually assaulting these two white girls. He didn't do any of it, by the way. But this is the era where you just accuse black people and then they're guilty, right? And then they sentenced him to the death penalty, and he couldn't even fit in the electric chair because he was so small. They had to stack some Bibles so he could sit in the chair. Like, that's reality. That's what they would have done to Noah Bush if the tables were turned real quick, right? Especially in a place like Georgia. Jeez Louise. All right. Let me read some comments here. Sorry, guys. I hate to be so dark. We're going to shift it back up in a minute, but we just got to cover what needs to be covered. All right. Justice for Breonna Taylor. Nikita Clark said, I plan to restrain myself and not throw my phone across the room over that Breonna Taylor decision. When I read that, I was trying to get to YouTube so bad. For some reason, I could not get any videos out this week. I was having a hard time because that was going to be a video by itself, but we're talking about it now. But man, crazy. They just play it in your face. And Daniel Cameron, there's just some people, if I ever catch them on the street, I don't care. I'll take a charge for some of these people. Daniel Cameron, you ought to be ashamed, right? Terrible. Michelle Joyner said, Republican Reagan appointed judge made the ruling. Can't have Trump appointed more federal judges like this. Can't vote for him. I hope you don't either. That's why I keep saying, like, when it's all said and done, like, all of this stuff is long term. Like, policy will always affect us for decades to come. So that's why I'm always like, don't just live in the moment politically with how you feel in the moment. Like, I'm always thinking of, well, this is just me personally. I look at things from a collective standpoint. I'm really like community based, and that just comes from me working in the community for so many years. So yes, it's about me, myself, and I, but I want to make sure everybody else is good too. And I think a lot of folks are moving in a space where, well, as long as I'm good, to hell with the rest of y'all, figure it out. And unfortunately, that doesn't work, right? Because then, listen, eventually we got to get old. Eventually, we'll be the senior citizens. We'll be the ones, that need additional assistance. We'll be the ones that some of us might lose a limb to diabetes, or some of us might go blind in an eye. Some of us might have hypertension. Some of us might catch, syndromes and stuff that make it so we can't move around and we need additional assistance. That will be some of us years from now. So it's like, you got to think about who you're letting dictate how things move, right? Keep chipping away at stuff that people need. Somebody said a Democrat appointed judge would have made the same ruling. It's a rarity that they make police take accountability. I think to that conversation, because for me, it's not even specifically Democrat, Republican, but for me, it's the integrity of the person that is appointing. Ronald Reagan, to me, is one of the most evil old white men to ever walk on this planet. Like, I have nothing nice to say about that man. And so whether he would have been a Democrat or a Republican, he would have still been a terrible person either way. And so when you let somebody like that determine, who they're going to appoint to determine the livelihood of different people, that's some scary crap for me, right? That's how I see it. Man. Now, as far as Trump, I personally think Reagan is more evil than Trump. I think Trump is just dumb. Trump is just not smart, but Trump is a narcissist and his ego inflated. So Trump just thinks everything he does is the greatest, and he doesn't have any thought behind any of his decisions. And that's why he's always been a really terrible candidate. We can talk about the racism and all that stuff, but the issue I've always had with him is he's just not smart. He's not logical. He's irrational. Look how he's moving right now. I just saw the post he had. What did he post? A picture of Hillary and Kamala talking about they both, sexual favors. They're way up to the top, but had different results. I'm like, or both were the victims of just some stupid, just crazy. But anyway, another day, another time. Oh, wow. One Love, thanks for sharing this. They said the parents knew and even helped look for the child. See, don't play in my face like that. Ooh, that would set me off. If you know your child killed my child, you want to sit here and help me look for mine. I'm grieving, stressed. Y'all out here. Ooh, people are just every now and then I'm like, you know what? Let me just when I come into the right kind of money, let me just get me a lake house and live away from everybody. Let me just have a lake house where it's peace and quiet. I can see the cardinals in the spring and the summer. I can see the deer in the winter and the fall, and be left alone, be at peace. And I'm gonna have a big old willow tree in the backyard, just big willow tree and about 3 dogs. Sounds very peaceful. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. Exactly. They're saying not accidental. Exactly. Nerdlard said Reagan was half senile like Biden. Yeah, you know what was crazy too, especially Reagan's last term. That mind was going bad, right? I think that's kind of where Biden is now too. That's not a nice way to say it, but like became more delayed, right? And I think Biden definitely got a lot more delayed. We kind of watched it over the span of the 4 years, but Reagan was a whole lot worse, right? And even when you go to like FDR in that very last term, like he had what you call it? I think he had polio, right? And they were trying to hide it. Because again, this is especially in the 40s. This is the era of the president must be strong and right. And so he could barely walk. So when they would have him walk, they would have the guy next to him, and he would kind of do that strong walk. But they didn't have him do a lot of things towards the end because they didn't want people to realize how down bad he was, right? It's interesting how a lot of times our politics kind of works full circle and history kind of repeats itself. All right. All right, we got to keep it moving. That's crazy too, Alan Lewis. I didn't write it in my notes, but I have seen it. Did you hear about the Marcellus Williams case in Missouri? They're still trying to schedule him for the death penalty, and he's innocent. Like, that's wild too, right? Like, the evidence has kind of exonerated him. And at first they had said, okay, we're taking you off, death penalty done. And then they're like, but we're not going to let you free, but we'll give you life. And now it's like, no, death penalty's back on the table. Wow, this is taking me back to Troy Davis in 2011, 2012, right? That's exactly what it's reminding me of. All right. I'm seeing some misinformation in these comments. I need y'all to start looking at some research. I'm not gonna keep having these same conversations that we already told y'all about. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, all right, quick update. Now, the last video I did was about the judge that decided to detain the teenage girl for sleeping, right? So what we've seen at this point, she is now suing, which rightfully so. And you know what's crazy with that case too? The fact that the judge offered to be her mentor. Like, how wild is that? Like, one, you traumatize the girl, right? You embarrass her. And then when people call you out on it, you will not check yourself or check your ego because you're so locked into the idea that you're right that you try to paint her to be a problem. And I just don't like the disrespect. I ain't like her attitude. I just heard a whole lot of eyes in something that wasn't even about you to begin with, which is crazy to me. And then the idea of threatening jail, like, wow to me. So yeah, I hope she gets every dollar and dime that she wants. But I think we have to get out of this habit of thinking that, humiliating kids or, instilling extra trauma is the way that, that's how we fix the problems we think they have, right? That's not going to be a way to fix anything. And I'm telling you that as somebody who's worked with kids. That never works, right? And I think people have to change their mindsets when it comes to the perceptions that they have of Black youth. A lot of times people see Black youth and already assume that they're up to no good from day one. And the fact that this was a group of teenagers that had been volunteering, doing a bunch of community stuff, and were on a field trip, and you still treated this girl like she was a problem just because she had nodded off. Like, that's crazy to me. And like, at this point, you let your ego ruin your career, right? Just done. And I'm still side-eyeing the staff of that group that she was with, because how did y'all sit there and let that happen? How didn't y'all protect the girl, right? When parents send their kids with organizations or after-school programs or schools or whatever, they are trusting you with their children, that their children will be well and be okay and come home in one piece and not come home distraught. And to just sit there and let this judge belittle and berate that girl and nobody said anything, I'm side-eyeing all of them too, to be honest, right? And then it also makes me wonder, what kind of results have we seen with other cases that he's handled? Because if that's how he moved just because somebody, nodded off, I can imagine what happened if somebody sucked their teeth because they didn't like what was said, or if somebody rolled their eyes, or if somebody, whatever they did, I can imagine the end result of some of these cases that some of these people are currently, living by in regard to whatever sentence they got. Just some things to think about. All right, let me do one more article and then we'll go back to the chat. Let's talk Wells Fargo, shall we? Because this has been a very interesting story that I've seen. Kind of wild to me, to be honest, right? Officials probe death of Wells Fargo employee found in her cubicle 4 days after last scanning into work. A 60-year-old Arizona Wells Fargo employee scanned into her office on a Friday on what appeared to be an ordinary workday. Then 4 days later, she was found dead in her cubicle. Denise Prudhomme, I think that's the last name, 60, was found dead on August 20th in her home in Tempe, police said. She had last scanned in the building at 7 a.m. on August 16th, a Friday, and there was no further scan in or out of the office, authorities said. Tempe police responded to the Wells Fargo office in the 1100 block of West Washington Street after on-site security called about an employee they believed to be dead. She was pronounced dead at 4:55 p.m., police said. The cause of death is pending determination by the Maricopa County medical examiner. Police said the preliminary investigation showed no obvious signs of foul play. The investigation continues. It's not clear how she had gone unnoticed for so long. NBC affiliate KPNX of Phoenix reported that she worked in a cubicle on the third floor away from the main aisle. An employee who spoke with KPNX on the condition of anonymity. No, that's not how you say it. Oh my God, what is anonymity? Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Forget it. Anyway, said that the colleague found her at the desk while walking around the building and that several people had smelled a foul odor but believed it to still be faulty plumbing. Wells Fargo confirmed that she sat in an underpopulated area of the building. We are deeply saddened by the loss of our colleague Denise Prudhomme. Our thoughts are with her family and loved ones, and we are in contact to ensure that they are well supported during this time. The company said in a statement Thursday. It is said that it is committed to safety and wellness of our workforce, and that is reviewing its internal procedures after this event. Counselors have been made available to support employees. That is wild to me, right? First of all, I'll say this. This is why I don't burn myself out of work anymore, because look how companies be moving. That's crazy to me that nobody's seen this woman. And I say that because the building has 24-hour security. And so I'm like, who's in the security room watching the tapes? And then even with like the clocking out system, like a lot of companies have like the electric one where you clock in, you clock out right now. Understand, she went to work on Friday. She's discovered on Tuesday. This means that at least on Monday, nobody noticed that there wasn't a clock in, clock out with her, electric timestamp, right? That's kind of crazy to me. And then in addition to that, and this is not like a regular like Wells Fargo bank. This is not like a bank branch. This is like an office. And then listen, that no smoke to the housekeeping staff, but I'm like, clearly they not vacuuming the floors and stuff, because you mean to tell me ain't nobody been to that cubicle since Friday, Monday? I got questions. That's all I'm saying, right? But that just sounds like a very interesting office. It sounds like nobody in there talks to each other. They just go to their cubicle and be miserable. Like, because how is it that somebody dies and nobody noticed? That's wild to me. Like, I'm not trying to act like I'm the life of the party at work, but people know when I'm there, right? My day ain't complete if I ain't made somebody laugh at work at some point. So to me, I wild. And the fact that she was there long enough for the body to start decomposing and the odor to be there, that is wild to me. And it just goes to show, like, these companies really don't be caring like that. That's why I'm at a space, like I said, I will not burn myself out of work anymore. I will do my job effectively, and I think I do it pretty well because I always stay winning awards. I told y'all I won Employee of the Year for 2023 at this current job, which was crazy because when they gave it to me, it was at the company like holiday brunch. I wasn't even planning on going, but I was like, let me go, show face so I can at least be a good, employee. And then they called my name. What? I was like, mid-chew. What? Who? Oh, okay. And give me this nice bonus that I didn't get to enjoy because I had to spend it on paying for the short film. But anyway, that's wild to me. And I think what's sad too, I bet you they already have her position on Indeed. They already got her replacement ready. The company got to keep moving. So like I said, take care of yourselves. Do your job effectively, do it well, but do not overextend and burn yourself out and be stressed out, because the minute you go on to glory, they go on to the next candidate. That's all I'm saying. All right, let me read some comments. And I wonder, like, if there's like family or anything. Wild to me. It's crazy. All right. Corey B's 319 said, we have to remember that the White House ages you quickly because of the stress. Oh, yeah, because every president, please look at their before and after picture. They be hurt by the time they get up out of it. That's why they're so happy to leave. That inauguration, they can't wait to get in that helicopter and get up out of there like, whoo, done with that. Never again. Man. All right. Where are we at here? Greenberg said humiliation creates bitterness and anger. And that's what I said on the last video, especially with teenagers. Once you embarrass them, they're done. They check out. They're not coming back around. They will be done for the day with you. You can forget about it, right? And I just and I feel like millennials and Gen Z, we're that first generation where parents started trying to have like a different approach, right? Because they were starting to see the end result, like, okay, that's not working with kids or with a lot of kids. Some kids it does, some it doesn't. But it's like people got to evolve with how they move with kids. The whole throwing the hammer down right off the bat with everything, that's not always going to work with every single person, right? Everybody has their own way of doing things and how they respond and move to things. And again, it was a field trip. That's how we're moving on a field trip. Like, dang, okay. You know what used to piss me off? I used to hate when like public speakers or people that do community work would want to come to my center and like talk to the teens, because they always assumed that my teens were up to no good. And then every time I would see what their curriculum was, it would always be about why you need to do this so you don't go to jail. And I'm like, no, you don't got to worry about talking to my kids. But I've already had that conversation. You know, we were actually just doing an engineering project. Yeah, they were actually just doing some music yesterday. And then after that, there was also like a community project they were doing in the city. But yeah, let's talk about jail. Like, get out of here. Anyway. SF said the situation sheds light on America's toxic work beliefs and practices. Capitalism claims another one. May she rest peacefully. Oh, look, Pearl Hanson's trying to help me out. Anonymity. That's not how it's done. Anonymous. Why am I having a hard time with this word? Whatever. Look, whole communications degree. Anyway, yeah, I'm just not in a space where I am not burning myself out for any job anymore. I will do it well, but I already got enough on my plate. If you think I'm about to be stressed out at the place where I know if something goes down, they would have no problem throwing me under the bus, I am not that person. Nope, not doing it. Let's see. Star Sherry said, did nobody love her? I don't know, but I do. I don't know if she was married or not, but I don't know. That is something to kind of think about for people who like live by themselves and stuff. That can be kind of a scary thought where something could happen and people don't realize for days at a time, right? Noya said, hell no. Gen X was the generation of F around and find out. They crazy, and that's why everyone leaves them alone. Okay, Avocado Queen's trying to help me out here. Anonymity. There we go. Anonymity. There we go. Okay, I couldn't get it out. I better have said that right because I'm gonna feel real stupid if I still said it wrong. This is like that stupid flavor at the coffee shops. The dang what's that stupid berry? It's ACAI. I say it wrong every time. Acai or whatever. I thought it was a kai. I was in there looking stupid trying to order it, and then the lady, oh, it's acai, whatever. Acai. Acai what? Whatever. Okay, y'all be killing me trying to be fancy in these locations. Okay, that's McDonald's with that stupid parfait. I was in there talking about let me get a parfait, and then embarrassing myself. Okay. Oh God, another one of these stories. Okay. Wait, why are we still spelling it? You know, I give up on the word. Forget it. I never wanted spelling bee as a child. Okay, I always wanted geography bee. Y'all can spell it all you want. I'm done with it. I changed my mind. All right, I do want to read this story about this principal. And listen, something's in the water with the kids, to be honest. It's scaring me a little bit. Okay, I think this is the last article we're reading. All right, cool. Texas assistant principal says she may lose eye after student threw a wooden hanger at her. All right, a Texas school administrator revealed Tuesday she may lose her right eye after a student threw a wooden hanger at her. The incident occurred on August 15th in a classroom at Collins Intermediate School in Corsicana. Kendra Rogers, an assistant principal at the school, told reporters during a Tuesday press conference she was called to the classroom because a student was attacking a classmate. She said she found the room ransacked with overturned furniture upon arriving, and a student was still irate. I knew I had to be as calm as possible, and I spoke lowly and slowly so as to not enrage him any further. Jeez Louise, Rogers said. Rogers said the student first threw multiple chairs at both her and another employee, but she was able to protect them both each time. However, she told reporters that the student threw a wooden hanger at her, which she could not intercept quickly enough. This is a little graphic, just as a heads up. The hanger hit me in my right eye and knocked it out of the socket. Rogers was airlifted to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where she underwent surgery on her eye. She said the doctors were able to reinsert. I'm sorry, this is graphic. I apologize. But they expected her to be permanently blind. I will have to have an additional eye surgery to repair my eyelid because the doctors are believing my blindness to be permanent. Removing my eye may have to be an option, Roger said. I'm still believing in God for a miracle and restoration of my sight. The involved student was detained immediately following the incident, according to the Corsicana Independent School District. The matter has since been referred to the Navarro County District Attorney's Office, which said on August 16th the student was released to his parents. Corsicana officials said Monday that the student, whose age is unknown, is currently barred from campus. The school district expects the district attorney to address the incident through juvenile court. Our focus remains on Ms. Rogers, her family, and our students and staff at Collins, superintendent said. The incident affects our whole district as well. We want our teachers and staff to feel safe at work, just as we want our students to feel safe in school. In her Tuesday remarks, Rogers called on Governor Greg Abbott to update, of all people, to update Chapter 37 of the Texas Education Code, which focuses on discipline. She argued it must be taken into account the mental, social, and emotional well-being of the students, adding that no teacher should ever fear being in the classroom with an aggressive student. Crisis in the Classroom reached out to Governor Abbott's office for a response to a call, but did not receive a response prior to publication. I don't know what is in the water, but it is a wild time, ain't it? I just feel like the last 15 years, I feel like there's been a shift in the way that a lot of people move. Now, to be fair, there have always been teenagers, people that do all kind of wild out-of-pocket things. She's not the first staff member to be injured by a student. That's been going on since forever and a day. But it seems like something within the last 15 and really like the last 5, we've seen almost like it's like an extremity on steroids, right? And I started to notice it like 5 years ago, even working with my teens. Now, my kids, I ain't really had no problems with, but some of the stories that I would keep hearing from what was happening at school became more and more intense as the years would progress. And it's really interesting because I feel like we're in a space where a lot of people, the emotional intelligence has shifted. And I think a lot of that has to do with like social media, us being on our phones a lot more screen time, less interaction with people. And there's a lot of people who are not in a capacity to be what I say let down, not in a capacity to handle their emotions or how they move when they're upset or distraught or frustrated, or flustered or triggered, right? And now we're in a space where you have people where the smallest thing sets them off and it's like you can't turn it off. That's the challenge that I've seen, where it's really hard to get somebody to come back here, right? And it's really just, it's interesting because now people, like a lot of times, and the problem with that is people don't think long-term about their actions. People are so locked into the moment, even though we were just talking about long-term results more so with elections, but now we're talking about just people in general, right? There's a lot of folks who move in the moment and never think long term. And this is why, like, I cuss like a sailor when I drive, but I'm not going to be that person that pulls up on somebody and lets the window down and cuss them out. Because in this day and age, folks are wild, right? Now I keep a hammer in the door just in case somebody wants to feel froggy. I'm going to take my hammer and go straight for the knees because I'm usually shorter than everybody. But I'm not the person to go and start stuff with people because you never know how somebody else is at this point, right? And it's interesting because I think back, right? I've said this before, but I feel like for some reason with social media, especially when it comes to like fighting and stuff, for some reason, I feel like when people see a camera phone, right? Or people see somebody recording, and I don't know if this is what was happening in the classroom, I think it kind of ups the ante for the person who is fighting or whatever, because now it's like, oh, I may be viral. I don't want to get beat up in front of the world, right? So I got to really show that I can do whatever I'm doing, right? So I feel like that's one of the things that you constantly see when teenagers and stuff fight. And I say that because when I think back to being in high school and when folks used to fight, folks would fight, you beat up the person, and it was over with. Now what's kind of scary is like you're watching kids stump somebody's face in the curb. You're watching them slam their head on the concrete. Like, I'm like, are y'all trying to kill each other? Or I thought this was just a beef and y'all was going to throw hands and then go home. Like, it's a wild time we're kind of living in. And the fact that we're now in a space where, kids have no problem, attacking the staff. And that's why when I was reading the article, when she said that he started throwing desks out, that would have reminded you, well, all right, let me go on and step out of here. Let me go get somebody who this is their lane, right? Because I used to tell my teens, don't come in here fighting because I'm not, most of them were bigger than me, first of all. I'm not throwing my back out trying to pull y'all apart. So they already knew not to fight in the center anyway. Now, thank God we never had to have any big like teenage fights or brawls. But like, it makes no sense that people who are trying to do good for the community, the people that are trying to make sure that these kids are all right, have to deal with some of the things that they have to deal with. Like, that's wild to me, right? And the thing is, like, society continues to punish the people that are working in education. They don't want to pay these people enough. They constantly want to have oversight into everything that they do with their jobs because everybody thinks they're smarter than the schools a lot of times, or the people that are educated. Now, I will say there are some issues I have with curriculums and things like that. But when we're talking about teachers that mean well, when we're talking about administrators that mean well, that are trying to do their best, and people still give them hell on earth, right? Parents still come in there ready to throw hands about silly things, right? I'll never forget this one time during the pandemic, my center was closed for renovation. So they had me kind of rotating in different locations. And I had just went to a center to drop off like some books or something. Something had happened at the center. I had nothing to do with it. I don't know what happened. All I know is I was coming in to bring some books. This kid's mama came in and came straight to me, right? I just walked in the door. Like, I'm still sweating from being outside and getting my keys. And I need to know who the, and I was like, I don't know what oh, now you don't know what happened? I really don't. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. Ma'am, I don't work here. I just walked in the door. Like, right? So I get it. As a parent, you want to protect your child, but it's like, dang, the rationale is missing, right? Can we have some nuance, right? Lord, what is in the water? But yeah, these people are underpaid and underappreciated. And the idea of having to lose an eye at work because some kid is throwing a hanger is wild to me. And then it makes me question, how did the environment in the classroom even get to that point, right? And I get that the teacher went and got somebody else, but clearly there was something brewing in that environment. And I think as the adult in the room, you kind of also have to be observant of what's happening in the classroom, when you notice that there's tension between some of the students. And that sucks because that's not really your job. Your job is to enlighten and educate and teach. But now you got to be social worker and disciplinarian and now UFC fighter in the classroom and do all that and make $40,000 a year when your rent is $2,500 a month. Crazy. Lord, some of these parents, I don't know what's in the water, but emotionally, there's a lot of kids who are really lost. There's a lot of kids who are not in a capacity to be disappointed because they can't handle it. And there's adults like that as well, which is scary, but it's wild to me. Like, and I say that with the adults. Like, how many times have we seen the stories where, some guy's trying to get hit on a girl, asked for the number, and she politely declines, and now he done stabbed her, or he done called her all kind of whatever names, or he done ran over with the car. I'm like, how are you that sensitive? How are you that? Like mentally, something that ain't right. Something is wrong up here, right? There's a lot of folks who need some serious help. Some folks just need some additional love, but geez, that's crazy. I hope she need to sue. I'd sue the whole district. Everybody paying me. F that. All right. Yep. Look, we still spelling this word. I done told y'all. I done moved on. Piscean Beauty said, I don't know much about this story, but I'm tired of the public schools are all wild and bad narrative. It does nothing to foster necessary change and improve public education. I agree because I am a product of education, and I think all of my schools were pretty well. They did pretty well. They did pretty good to me. They didn't have, and honestly, like, yeah, I graduated in the top of my class out of high school. I was number 36 out of 581. I wasn't top, but I was up there, right? And yeah, I came out of public school, and I was a kid that moved a lot. Yeah, and a lot of that conversation too, we already know that they're trying to privatize education because there's money to be made. Every kid in America needs an education, and there's a whole lot of money that can be made if you can privatize education and charge for each kid, right? Same thing like we talked about with the mail situation. And that's why, DeJoy was so pressed to ruin the mailing industry or USPS because, hey, if we can privatize U.S. mail, trillions of dollars can be made because we're sending mail every day. But yeah, we got to do a better job of supporting like those who work in education because it's a tough job to be in. It's one of the reasons I was never a teacher, and I preferred working in the after school realm because teachers deal with so much. And people think just because they get that nice summer vacation, which a lot of them don't even get that, and understand even with summer vacation, they have to ration their paychecks during the school year to make sure that they can cover their bills and stuff during the summer because a lot of them don't get paid during summer unless they sign on to do summer sessions or, different things like that. But yeah, these teachers, God bless them. All right. Angela Jones, I agree. Teachers that do this job don't do it for the money because they're definitely underpaid. Listen, teachers that stay 10, 15, 20 years, like those are people that are dedicated to what it is that they do. That's a hard field to be in because you also got to think about all of the changes that continue to happen when it comes to government and how the rules change at the schools and new initiatives and new standardized tests and this thing's going to come and this is going to come. Now there's a new chancellor. They want to introduce a new test that all the schools got to take. And if you don't take this and you don't do this well, this happens. And then teachers got to still get these new certifications. And with all that to be said, you get yours as an educator, you get your education in a certain time period But because times evolve and things change, you have to constantly keep updating your certifications to stay in line with what's happening with the times, right? So I always will have sympathy and empathy for a teacher. I always will appreciate what they do. Thank you, Christopher Perkins. Please continue articulating absolutely real Black media news work. So shout out to all the teachers, right? Somebody said it's COVID, the terrible national climate, social media, and the dissolution of relationships and community. I think it's all of that. Yeah, I think that's playing a huge role as to why people are just moving the way they move. It's really, really interesting to me, which is why I've tried to pull back from social media a little bit, but it's hard because, you know, I got a YouTube channel, right? So, and I got projects and stuff. So in order to market and connect with folks, I still got to be kind of tuned in, but I purposely like cut back how much stuff I consume just for my own peace of mind. Because the more stuff I read, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, what is there to look forward to? Because God, is everybody crazy? Like, so yeah, I've tried to cut back a little bit and spend more time like away from the phone and doing other things. So just for my own peace of mind, right? Let's see. Tyler Hackman said, I'm 22 and I don't even remember it being this bad. Sorry, Sherry said, all this over some bad grades. I don't even know what it was. I think it was, it sounds like it was a student fighting another student, right? That's what it sounds like. So I don't know if this is about grades or what, but yeah, interesting. Let's see. Somebody had a comment I was trying to read and the stupid thing jumped just now. Star Cherry said, don't be too hard on the parents. Some of them are working hard day and night to provide, which I totally agree. I'm specifically talking about the ones, though. Like, let me say this. There are parents who do everything that they can, right? We love them. But there are some parents who, and I'm just speaking from experience, and that's why I said some, not all, right? There are some parents who never show up until it's a problem, right? And then they want to drop the hammer. And that's always been a challenge I've had. And I get it. Not every parent can come to everything because people got different hours that they work and stuff. But when it's like they don't return calls, they don't even sign any papers, they miss every single meeting. Even when you do a home visit, they ain't got time to talk to you, this, that, and third. And you're like doing everything that you can to help. And they don't want to do the other thing because they feel that teachers are supposed to raise the kids. That, to me, those are the kind of parents I'm talking about. Because I'm never going to tear down a parent who's doing the best they can. And not every parent can be there, which is why I believe in the idea of community, which is why I believe in the idea of having a village, right? I think the best position a child can be in, especially if they have parents that work a lot or if they have a single parent that works a lot, is being in a community where you have that neighbor that the parent can depend on. Like what I used to hate. Oh my God. So in our neighborhood growing up, we only had like 5 Black neighbors, but my mom and dad were friends with all of them. And it was like, our house was surrounded by their houses. My brother and I could never do anything out of pocket because one of them neighbors was watching, right? I tried to steal my car to go to the homecoming game because my mom had went to visit my dad in Alaska. And I didn't even make it down the hill good before, whatchamacallit? What's his name? I forgot the guy's name. It's been a few years. But before the neighbor, I just got down the hill in the car, right? And mind you, I'm going to pick up my friends too. We about to turn up. Couldn't even get down the Clark. Couldn't even get down the hill. Good. Here come Clark. Where are you going with that car? Damn. I was just going to put some gas in it, bring that car back up the hill. All right, y'all. Y'all gonna have to find another way to get to the game, right? Like that idea of like community, right? And I think when there's a sense of community, there's kind of also respect for everybody. And what I mean by that is people have a respect for the people that they know mean well. Like, remember in the Nas song Second Childhood where he has that line, remember, don't curse in front of his Versey, kind of like that kind of approach where there is a buy-in to your lived experience where you got your parents, yes, you got your peers, but you know, for me, like I think back to like Summers in Savannah, there was the lady that had the ice pops in the cup that she used to sell. I never knew the lady's name, but to me, she was a pivotal part of my childhood. I always knew on those 90-degree days, I could walk to the corner and get an ice pop for like 50 cents. Stuff like that. So when we're talking like community, I mean like that. I feel like that's the best position a child can be in, especially if they have parents that are not as available. So yeah, man. All right, let's keep going. Let's see. Corey Best said, and for those who can afford to have their summers to themselves, they've earned it. Think about how badly one child can drain you emotionally. Man, Man, listen. Now imagine that 35. Yeah, now imagine 35 of that or the same child in every classroom. Yeah, and think about like when these schools cut funding and everything, like the research is already showing a healthy classroom is not supposed to have more than 18 students. But there's most classrooms I can think of, especially in cities and stuff, a lot of these classrooms be having 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 students with one teacher. That is wild, right? And then think about those who don't just have one class. Like think about those who got to teach 6 or 7 classes of 35 students. But wild, right? And understand, depending on what time of the day is, kids move different. The 9 a.m. group of kids is very different than the group that just came back from lunch. Take note, okay? Man, okay. Africa said, community, no, I never had much of that. Almost your age. I got it in doses. I got it in the summers in Savannah, and I got it towards the end of my teenage years in the final house that we lived in from like my sophomore year onwards. But the years before wasn't really always community because we moved around too much. So it kind of depends, right? Okay, we got to keep it moving, y'all. I got so much to still cover. We talked about this already, but them astronauts are still stuck up there. Imagine that. Imagine, these are the astronauts that were supposed to be in space for 8 days, and then something happened with the ship and the thing wasn't docking right, and now they're saying that they will not be returning at least until February of 2025. I think I'd lose my mind in that ship. First of all, the ship ain't that big. Just, picture half the size of like a one-bedroom apartment that's maybe, I don't know, 600 square feet. That's about how much space they got in that ship. Like, how pissed I would be if I'm stuck up. Like, see, that's why I've never had a desire to go to space. When people be like, "Oh, let's go," y'all go ahead. Like when they're talking about, SpaceX and soon people can pay to go to space, y'all go right ahead. I'm gonna be down here minding my business because I've never had an interest in that. When they're talking about, "Oh, we're gonna build, cities in Mars," well, y'all go to cold behind Mars and enjoy yourselves. I won't be there. Like I've never had a desire to go to space. It's cool to look at. I love Earth science. I love watching the documentaries and stuff, but I ain't trying to be up there. I don't even like flying in a plane. I'm paranoid just going 30,000 feet up. You think I want to go several miles into the sky? Man, nah. So yeah, that sucks for them. I hope they got enough food and stuff to last. That is wild. I'm nervous for them on the way back. So hopefully everything flows the way it flows, but that is wild to me. I'd be pissed. They've been up there for, oof. Wait, let me. September, October, November, December, January. They still got 6 months. Ain't no way. Nope. Jeez. Okay. I want to play this clip because it kind of made me laugh a little bit. I was trying to be on her side, but then I was like, I don't know. Okay, this is that clip the girl posted where she was fired by HR because she was late. Let me fast forward to like half of it. I don't need to play the whole thing. I just want to hear how y'all feel on this. Let's see. Yeah, but okay, maybe I'll play the whole thing. Okay.
Hi, Tatiana. This is Shelly from HR.
From HR, okay. No, I don't remember you, but what's going on?
We had a discussion a couple weeks ago about your absenteeism and tardiness.
Okay.
Do you know what time you have to be clocked in at work?
6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 a.m.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, on 7/18, you clocked in at 6:12.
Wow.
We had a discussion about that.
12 minutes.
Yeah, but, they're waiting on you to be there and clocked in and ready to work at 6.
Okay.
So your employment is really going to be terminated as of today because also on 7/28, you clocked in at 6:21.
21 minutes.
Yes, that's 21 minutes of company time.
But I still work though. Like why ain't y'all telling me that today when I was just at work?
Because I handle all the HR, so they wanted me to call you because we had that discussion, remember, about...
And that was the day that I let all right, keep going.
So you were also on 8/8, you clocked in at, 6:32.
That was okay, so I let my cousin use my car the night before, and he didn't bring it. He overslept or something. He didn't bring it back till the morning. So, I still made it, though.
Literally, 9 days after we talked. So, and then on 8/12, you just did a no-call, no-show.
That was my birthday. August 12th, that's my birthday. I already told you.
Request that day off work, though.
But y'all know that's my birthday. I'm not. No, that's fine. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. But anyway, all right. Now I will say this, that because the HR lady said everyone works on their birthday. I'm like, F that. I don't be working on well, I do be, but most of the time I don't be trying to. Look, I was trying to be on her side. Now I don't know if that's a prank or not, because everybody be posting stuff and stuff don't be real or not. But I was trying to root for her. When she said 6:12, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that ain't even that deep. Because listen, I know when I get to work, because I don't drive to work, I have to take the train. And by the time I get from the station to my office, that alone is like a 16-minute walk, depending on what's happening. Well, no, it ain't 16. It's like 10 minutes if I'm really moving it, right? So there are some moments where I might walk in about 10, 11 minutes afterwards, but I'm like, look, I'm at the mercy of the train, right? But when they got to 6:21, I'm like, okay, we cut it close. And then that one that said 6:32, and then you didn't even come to work. I said, ma'am, no, man. Because HR be tripping, but I was like, dang. That kind of had me laughing. I was like, okay, she playing. She can't be serious. Not in this economy, the way these jobs are. But it sounds like it ain't really a desirable place to be anyway, right? If they moving like that. But I get it. If you're somebody who can't leave work until the next person comes to clock in, I get it. I think back to being a resident assistant when we had the night shift. When I worked in Meridian at Howard, night shift on the weekend, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. And when it was 2 a.m. and you're ready to go to bed, man, you'd be pissed if the person that came down to relieve you didn't come down to like 2:45 or something because they couldn't wake up. They used to piss me off. And then we also had additional shifts. So sometimes you might have a shift that's like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. or something on like a Tuesday and you still got class. Man, if somebody wasn't coming down, and folks would do all kind of stuff. They turn their phone off knowing they got to come downstairs. Like the way I used to walk up and knock on the door. Look, you go do your shift. I'm going to sleep because we used to get in trouble if we leave the front desk unattended, mainly because our dorm wasn't on campus. So somebody always had to be at the front. But that's a wild time. But now I was with her when she said, if y'all was gonna fire me, why y'all didn't fire me when I first got in? Y'all didn't have me work the whole day. Right? Then had me do my whole shift. Now you want to let me go. Y'all could have told me that before I came in. You could have sent me a text. Don't worry about coming in. Like, man. You know who needs to handle this? The girl that left that message for Rachel. Remember, this is for Rachel. That's all I'm gonna say. I can't say the rest of the joke because we'll be on here cussing too much. All right, let me read some comments. The stuck astronauts make me think of that Black Mirror episode, horror movie stuff. Boeing has had it rough. Yeah, I just saw that Delta plane too with the tires that blew up and killed the 2 people. Like, whew, what is going on? Somebody said they're coming back in SpaceX. Somebody said, why doesn't Elon pick them up though? Why don't he go? Elon might want to just go up there and stay while he at it, to be honest. He ain't, listen, Elon just wrote his name on the stuff. He don't know how to do none of that engineering stuff. Somebody said another commercial that they can't skip. YouTube changed something a few months ago, and I don't like how they've done it ever since because it does give a lot more ads now. Yeah. All right, let me see. He said they sound like they were warning her. Somebody said we went from 12 minutes to 21 minutes to 32 and then a no-show. Like, ma'am. She said, look, somebody borrowed my car. To me, that sounds like a skit, but that's funny to me. Like, sometimes you just need some comedic relief in this crazy world we live in. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Oh, God, I need to sit on this one. All right, we're going to get to Cam Newton real quick. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time because, yeah. Let me say this. I couldn't sit through the whole interview. My brain, I didn't have the bandwidth for it. But there were some interesting conversations about, children and marriage and everything like that. All I'm going to say is this. I just want us to remember that celebrities don't live our lives, right? They live in a space we don't live in. They've seen wealth that most of us, unfortunately, are never going to see. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic. Some of y'all will be great and be in the millions. We love it for you. But for the most people, $30 and $40 million contracts is not in our near future. We'll be successful in our own right in other ways, right? But a lot of these people don't live our lives. They are so far removed from a reality that we live in. And this is why when I see platforms and see them kind of dissect and jump into things, I never take it too seriously because I put entertainers and athletes and celebrities all in the entertainment box and I keep it there. I don't look to them for any guidance with my livelihood. None at all. I will entertain some of the things that they talk about. Some of them I do think have shown that they do have the range for some of the conversations they jump into, and they actually have thought behind what they do. But a lot of folks also, again, are locked into their egos, right? And so I feel like the sooner we kind of stop looking at some of these people as guidance for how to live our lives, I think folks would be a lot better. Because Cam Newton, when I tell you social media has been going at it for like 2-3 days, and I've seen gender wars and this, that, and the third, and everybody got an opinion on something, and it's like y'all are doing all this, and Cam is probably at home asleep right now, right? It makes me think back to there was a time Nick Cannon, I did a video on it a while, maybe some years ago. This is when I was still doing a lot of the In the News episodes, and this was when he was talking about like monogamy was like a European thing, and you know, he was trying to say that because, you know, it was his way of justifying why he likes to have, you know, however many, I forget, he like what, 8 kids and I think 5 different women or whatever. But he was saying, you know, that's a European standard to only be with one person, blah blah blah. And so I remember, I don't even remember what I said in the video. All I know is in the comment section, there's a whole lot of men coming after me like, oh, you don't understand. Oh my God, y'all always trying to tear people down. I'm like, why are we mad that I called out? Like, all I pretty much said was, what we're not going to do is just acknowledge that you don't really want to commit to one person and you prefer to be with a whole bunch of folks. That's all it is. But we're not going to turn this into some, all of a sudden try to make it feel like it's a part of academia and start talking about European standards versus African, this, that, and third, when in reality, like, no, that's not how we're moving. And that's why I said, okay, well, if that's the case for all y'all who want to come and fight me, let your mama go date Nick Cannon and see how you feel. But let her date Nick Cannon if he didn't have any money, and see how well you want to be in regards to him dating with all the women. Like that's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, I think with Cam, there's a lack of self-awareness. And to be fair, he done got knocked in the head a few times because he was an athlete. So I don't know, but it seemed like he had an obsession with wanting to have the upper hand in that whole conversation the entire time. Interesting watch. I just take it with a grain of salt. That's where I'm at with it. Just because, again, these aren't people I really run behind, and there's nothing against them. I love what they do within the scope of their employment. Love watching him, you know, break all kind of records in the NFL. You know, Nick Cannon, I enjoy some of the movies, and I think he does a great job hosting the shows he hosts, and I even like 1 or 2 of his songs back in the day. But yeah, that's where it stops for me. I'm not looking to them for any advice on marriage, children, any of that, right? That's just where I'm at. Speaking of Nick Cannon, let me shift over to Mariah. Also, I don't know, it's really sad to see that. I saw, you know, her mother and sister died on the same day. Interesting. I can't imagine the kind of hurt that would come from that if that was my experience. But I will say, I think there's too many people in the lady's business. A lot of folks were kind of trying to tear her down because, well, one, if you've read her book, she's been very transparent about the relationship she has with her family members, right? And so a lot of articles have published, oh, well, she wasn't talking to her sister when the sister passed. And so people, you know, were trying to tear the lady down, and that's why you need to make up and so on and so forth. I think sometimes there are some people who have experiences that we will never experience. And even when we think we're giving a solution, we're giving a solution from our lived experience, but not theirs. And our lived experience doesn't exist within their reality. So sometimes people do have arrangements that they make for themselves for their own peace of mind. Like I was just talking to my godmom, who she was adopted. And I had asked her if she would ever do like ancestry or anything like that to find out who, like, where she comes from as far as like her siblings and stuff, you know, because a lot of times you can find out you got cousins and brothers and sisters and stuff. And she specifically said, you know, it was so much hurt that had come from a lot of that she's made her peace, and she's fine with, you know, the adopted family she has, and she doesn't want to further pursue that. And you know, I was able to understand that. And I think back to one time, my friend was here one time, and she had me watching, it was that Ayanna show. Remember that episode where the dad had like 30 kids or something like that? But he was trying to be in all the kids' life after the fact, right? And so there was a woman who was she might have been maybe 40 years old. And there was a question Ayanna asked where she said, are you willing to love her enough to leave her alone? And at the time, I could not understand that. I was like, why would she not want him in the life? He's trying to do the right thing. And my friend was like, you don't understand. And my friend had to explain from their perspective, because they grew up in a situation where, you know, they have a father that has a whole bunch of kids. And she was like, you will never understand the experience of waiting outside for him to show up and he doesn't show up, or waiting by the window because he promised he was going to come and he never came. And the feeling of being let down over and over and over and over and over. And so, yeah, sometimes people make their peace with whatever. And the same thing can be to say when you flip it the other way around, if it's maybe a mother that hasn't been around or hasn't been present, or, you know, there's a lot of people who, you know, especially when we're talking about people who have mothers who have substance abuse problems, right? There's all kinds of things that take place. So for Mariah, you know, when you're talking about a sister who tried to sell her, one, and then, you know, constantly put all woman's business out there. Like, her book is very interesting. I would say read her book, because each family member, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop judging people, but damn, Lord, Jesus. But yeah, I think everybody has an experience, right? And I think with family, as much as we want to love family sometimes, as much as we want to hold it, because for me, the biggest challenge I've had is like accepting that the dynamics of my family has changed. Like I hold on to, that's probably why I'm always talking about like childhood memories a lot on like my podcast or on this channel, because I think personally I had a really great childhood when I'm talking about like immediate family and extended family, aunts, uncles, grandpas, and all that stuff like that. Really, really great childhood. But as we've gotten older, you know, our family has grown like a lot further apart. Everybody's in their own world doing their own things. And then, you know, relationships and stuff change. And for me, it's been really hard to kind of accept that things are just not going to be what they were. And it is what it is, right? You love on the ones that you can love on, and the ones that have gone into whatever space they go into, you can just love them from afar. But like everybody has a different experience. So I'll say for Mariah's situation, I don't think people should jump and place judgment about what the relationship was with her and her sister, right? Same thing with her and the mom. And what's also sad, because this is why I think it's hard to be entertainers, because they still have to keep working. I had noticed for the last few months, Mariah to me seemed really off in a lot of performances. Not like the performances were bad, but you ever see like somebody who you can tell they're like totally, they're there, but they're not there. Like when I look at pretty much every performance I saw on YouTube from the Vegas shows and whatever else she's been doing, something just seemed off. I didn't know if maybe that was like meds or antidepressants, or I know she's also bipolar. I didn't know if that was the meds or not, but I'm like, now that I think about it, this woman may have probably known that things were going sour with the health of family members for months, and she had to still keep performing. And then I saw a clip of a show from, I think, a few days ago before the passing of the family members, and it's her singing what's that song? Make It Happen. And she's one step from crying, but she holds it together. I was like, man, these entertainers deal with a lot, right? I think because they're rich, we often be like, they got money, they be all right, but they human just like the rest of us, right? All right, I'm gonna pause right there and read some comments here. Let's see. Losing 2 family members in the same day. I can't even imagine, let alone your mama. I don't even want to think about that day. I'd be sad thinking about it, and it ain't even here. But, man. Let's see. Can you all get rid of the troll, please? I don't know what troll is. Listen, trolls, they add to my algorithm. Troll if you want to. I'm still getting paid. Let's see. Plus, y'all know I don't entertain trolls anyway. You can say whatever you want in that comment section. I will scroll right past your comment and back to the things that make some sense. We don't do foolery around here. Keep the shenanigans on your side, because, yeah. Let's see. Somebody said, Friday, how you get fired on your day off? Somebody said, I don't trust Boeing anymore. Listen, to be honest, a certain administration really pushed the wave of deregulation with a lot of things, that a lot of corporations and companies have been cutting corners for the last 5, 6, actually, no, for like the last decade, to be honest, cutting corners, especially since around 2018, 2019, we started seeing a lot of deregulation. Now you're seeing these food recalls and all kinds of listeria outbreaks and everything. And this has always been happening, but now you're really seeing a conscious effort to just not even care, which is really messing up some things around here. I wish I had my notes from something I wrote down from yesterday, but I'll come back to it because I was going to make a point, but oh well. Yeah. These companies did you get together? I'll say that. Somebody said, Lord, Cam showed how dumb he is on that interview. I think people, whatchamacallit? People, I think, some people have expertise in things that they're good at, and there's some things that it's just not their lane. Like for me, my lane, I'm good at what I do, but you ask me to play basketball, I'll be all right. But don't expect me to be the person to hit the winning shot, right? That's not my gift. All right. Somebody said, agreed, Calvin. Unfortunately, people do put these people on a pedestal, so we need to call them out. Plus, it makes interesting conversations. Yeah, I've seen that a lot of times, especially a lot of people, especially even like other bloggers that make specific content centered around relationships, but a lot of times they operate as like chaos agents, right? And people run behind them, and then before you know it, you see quotes from them in all of your stuff when the people don't agree with what you said. I'm like, okay, keep bringing that person up, but okay. Somebody said that was a crazy interview. Robin R. 2 more commercials. What is going on? I've never had this many commercials during a live, at least 6. I don't know what YouTube is doing. And normally, like, if I see, like, so on my screen, on my bottom left screen, it'll tell me if an ad is about to come. And normally if I see it, I'll just hit skip. Because I do notice, like, if the ad starts, it pulls. Okay, the way that I've seen these ads work, the ad doesn't play for everybody. Like right now, there's 674 on right now. So like an ad will come on and it might pull 80 people. And the next ad might come and pull like a different 80 people. And so what I'll notice is I'll go from like 730 to 620 in a snap of a finger. And then as soon as I hit skip that ad, everybody gets brought back. And then my number goes back up. So I don't know what YouTube is doing. They should have kept the formula they had from a few months ago. Cause yeah. So there's that. Let's see. Yeah, on the same day. That's the crazy part. Yeah, it's something about being a celebrity. All your business is out there. Somebody said, "Is that the episode where Yana made him hold all the baby doll?" Yes. First of all, I don't even watch that show like that. But my friend was like, "Oh, we got to watch it, right?" It's like fine. But yeah, that was an interesting one because remember he couldn't hold all. He had like, man, I was like, "Sheesh." But yeah, when that happened, I couldn't understand because I was like, "How can you just say, yeah, I'll leave my child alone for the rest of her life? I want to be it." Like I couldn't understand it. I was like, oh. But you listen, that's not my experience. My father was around before he passed, so I can't use my lens of my happy childhood to try to see through somebody else's experience because it's not mine, right? Exactly. Families are complicated. Somebody says she hasn't been herself in a while. Okay. Noble Valkyrie said my father got deported when I was young. I had a kid at my center whose mom had been deported when they were young, and sadly they had to live with an aunt that did not want to raise them. And that lady, I don't know what happened to that kid because the family moved around a lot. But that lady who was the aunt that was with him, every time she came to the center, she was always trying to tell me about how terrible of a child he was. And he was actually a really nice kid. He was really young too. He was only like 9. But she was trying to find every reason to get rid of him. And I was like, the poor kid. Man. All right. Thoughts on Trayon White? Oh boy, you on camera, sir. You on candid camera. You on candid camera now. Trayon White kind of sucks. I feel bad because I feel like Ward 8 just stuff keeps happening with the people of Ward 8. Just for people who don't know, Trayon White is one of the city councilmen in DC who just got indicted on some federal charges for a whole bunch of stuff, but he's over Ward 8 in DC, which is one of the segments of DC where Black people still live, first of all, right? If we're talking Chocolate City, Ward 8 is the face of Chocolate City at this point because the rest of the city has been so gentrified. But yeah, that sucks for the people in Ward 8 because I'm like, I hope they can get what it is they need. That's what I'll say. Marcel said, I was listening to the podcast earlier, and every time you imitate Boss Lady, I think your Professor Hubert Farnsworth from Futurama. I know I need to get another podcast episode out. I want to come out when I get back from my trips. Keefa said, I haven't had one on this live yet I've had on other lives. See, that's what I was saying. Like YouTube does its own thing. They pick and choose how they do stuff. Remember when the airports used to be like, we're going to selectively pick somebody for a random search, right? Y'all be getting on the plane like, you come here. Now, okay. And them random selections used to just be the Black folks. All right. Anyway, where are we going with this? Let's see. Okay, we're finally getting somewhere. DJ Vlad. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I already told you I don't really care for DJ Vlad. Stop going on his platform, stop entertaining him, so we don't have to hear about him no more. But I did see him and Marlon Wayans going back and forth at it. He didn't like that he reached out to Marlon Wayans for an interview. And Marlon Wayans said his fee was $40,000 plus 35% of the revenue from that video. And DJ Vlad decided to post he was doing an interview with Ari Spears and then kept bringing that up. And then, eventually Marlon heard it and then they went back and forth on social media. For me, because I'm not a fan of DJ Vlad, I feel like if I'm Marlon Wayans, yeah, you're going to pay me to come on your show because Vlad doesn't even do anything anyway. Half the time, he's not even in the room for the interviews to begin with. He's talking to them through a TV. So what work are you actually doing? So yeah, if I'm Marlon Wayans, yeah, you're going to pay me. Sorry. Especially when he's been first of all, the reason I really don't F with him is I think back to when he was trying to fire that black girl in academia, or the black woman in academia. And then when she responded about some things, because she was from UC Berkeley and he was trying to tag the university to say that she was racist and trying to get her fired. And then when she responded, he said typical victim mentality. Those are talking points that white people use against black folks all the time. That's all I needed to hear to say, yeah, done with him. That's how he sees us. But he'll use us for leverage in regard to building his platform because we're entertaining. We're worth the story. People will watch our stories. People will watch the stories of rappers and actors and entertainers and athletes because we're interesting people. But what's not going to happen is you don't sit here and get to be rich and then still be anti-black. So then him trying to go and tear down Marlon Wayans and thinking people were going to be on his side, he learned the hard way. Now, he has apologized because he realized the money was in jeopardy. But don't fall for the bait. Can't do it with him. Like, nah. Anyway, I also had a recommendation from films. I watched The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. Really great watch. I enjoyed that. It's on, is that Hulu? It's either Amazon Prime or Hulu. I can't remember, but it was a really, really great watch. So I definitely say check that out. There's a little bit of elements of sadness in it, but it was there's comedic relief that kind of balances it out. So that movie reminds me of kind of how some movies were made back in like the late 90s. It kind of made me think of films like Why Do Fools Fall in Love? What else would I say? Or like Down in the Delta. It kind of made me think of those. So I thought it was a really great movie. Let's see. Oh, Keith Lee. I forgot about him. Look, y'all got my city getting cooked right now. Keith, I don't know what part of DC you went to. I saw them clips. I said, where did he go? I don't know. I couldn't even say nothing. I had to just be quiet. I was just letting my city get whacked on Twitter because I was not about to be arguing with nobody because I said, Lord, where did you go? When I saw the Dixie plate, I said, what place is this? Okay, but I think, I don't know where he went, but DC has some great food spots. Now, I'm not going to lie. As much as I love my city, most of my favorite restaurants are in Baltimore. I'm not going to lie. Please don't fight me, DC. I'm just saying how I feel. But no, DC, I eat good here. That's one of the main things I love to do. When my mama come, we love to go and find a new spot in the city. But interesting. But yeah, we were getting cooked all week. I'm like, damn, DC. And it's so funny because my cousin Brandon, I told you, he and I have this ongoing Atlanta versus DC thing. So anytime DC is not shown in a good light, he cannot wait to send me a text. Whoa, guess what I saw? this your people? And look, I'm glad he doesn't live in DC because like I just was watching the news and the building I used to live on was on the news yesterday. I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna talk about that story, but boy, sheesh. Okay. Read some comments here and then we'll keep it moving. Somebody said they love Marlon's response. They said Vlad is a Fed. Anyone that goes on his platform deserves the arrest they're going to get. Because they be on there telling all kind of crimes and stuff that they did. I'm like, y'all that comfortable saying that much? I know I'd be on here telling all my business, but I ain't about to tell you nothing incriminating on here. I ain't going to tell you that I stabbed some. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, they be telling everything. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, why does any black person even still work with him? That's with Vlad. It only works when everyone is on board or on code. Yeah, I just feel like there's other platforms y'all can go on. There's so many great content creators that do really great work. Like, shout out. I think he announced that he's going to stop doing videos, but shout out to the channel Black Music Archives. I really appreciate, now his channel specifically music theory, right? But in addition to just doing the videos that, go into the dynamics of different voices of singers, he's taking the time to go and like interview a lot of people who most of the general public would not know, like Black opera singers, Black entertainers that do music overseas in Europe, Black musicians or artists that centered in house music. Like he's done a lot of really, really dope stuff on his channel, right? So I feel like people should kind of find ways to get on those kind of channels that actually celebrate you, right? You know, we can still talk about the dirt and everything else, but a lot of these places are messy. You know, some of these channels are just like a YouTube version of the Shade Room or Neighborhood Talk or Baller Alert or Hollywood Unlocked. It's just mess after mess after mess, right? But there's a lot of like platforms where people really love the idea of celebrating like Black culture, Black entertainment, Black accomplishments, everything. So I would love to see more celebrities visit some of those platforms and those channels, right? As opposed to going to, you know, giving some random half racist man a good check because he has a bigger platform. Like, okay. Anyway. Melody said they're making a movie out of that book y'all read for the book club. Are you talking about Short and Tragic Life of Robert Peace? I saw that the movie, I think the movie's already been made. I don't know if there's a different one you're talking about because we've read a few books. But yeah, I've seen the announcements for that. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe for those who in the book club who read the book, we can do a screening or something. Brooke Smith said that oohs and ahs plate had me screaming. I haven't had oohs and ahs since I was in college. I ate it one time. It was fine when I ate it. I just I just never really was pressed to go back. It was cool though for what it was, but I haven't had them in years, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, I saw that Dixie plate. I said, who is this? Who is, man? You sure you didn't just go to somebody's Instagram and they like claim they had a business, but they really just made it at their house and then brought a plate downstairs? You sure? Because some of them plates, I was like, you know, I need to see the color on the plate. I need to see some color on the palette. It can't be all brown. That'd be making me look sideways, right? The DC carryout I like. I don't even remember the name of it, but I know it's right off of I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not about to mess up my spot. Then all y'all be up in there. Let's see. Too much anti-blackness shrouded as entertainment on Black platforms. Unfortunately, yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. Okay. Whew. T-Boz. All right, y'all know that's my group. I always like TLC. I saw that, you know, she had to cancel some, or TLC had to cancel some shows because T-Boz was ill, and T-Boz responded. But it was interesting because when I was watching her, she was talking about how she plans to retire from performing in the next year. And it just got me to thinking. I was like, you know, the more I think about it, a lot of my favorite entertainers are all over the age of 50, right? And I was like, dang, I have to make peace with the fact that a lot of the people I like are going to start retiring and slowing down. Because when I was thinking, and sadly, if they're not retiring or getting older, they're not even here anymore, right? I started thinking, I was like, Prince is gone, Michael's gone, Whitney's gone. I was like, dang, okay. And then I was like, you know, with TLC left, I passed, but TLC continued to perform. But with T-Boz, I do feel like people have always been really kind of cruel. I think people don't realize how much that lady has dealt with in addition to the sickle cell. You know, we talked about her having a brain tumor. And the thing about that brain tumor is, like, understand the minute any kind of surgery takes place up here, there's things that are never quite the same. So she said that sometimes her balance can be a little off. And there's moments where she has to learn to walk again. And I remember reading her book. Her book is very interesting, too. You should read it. She talked about how one time she was at the breakfast table with her mom, just eating food, and she had been recovering. This is after they had the surgery with the brain tumor, and she just instantly got paralysis in her face. And while she was eating, the food just fell out of her mouth, and she, you know, couldn't do anything about it. Like, that's a tough experience, right? And then, you know, you go on the stage and people still want you to be your 1992 self or your 1995 self. And remember, like I've always said, T-Boz back in the day was the best dancer in TLC. No ifs, ands, or buts. I know right now Chili be spinning circles around T-Boz, but when we go, look, Chili used to be the lazy one in the group way back when, but T-Boz used to get it in. So I know it has to be kind of difficult sometimes to, you know what it is that you could do at one point, but you have to kind of repurpose how you move in order to be able to even get through a show. And it kind of just shows that, like, yeah, time is moving, right? Remembering when these people were in their 20s and now they're in like their 50s. I'm like, wow. Even when I saw Janet, like, great show, but I was like, dang, man, my favorite's getting up there, right? She start moving a little bit slower. She's still gonna do the big numbers and do everything, but you know, she ain't throwing the head as hard. She's gonna still throw that head, but she's gonna throw it a little bit softer because if she pulls something, you might have to cancel 3 shows. So, you know, I was like, man. So I feel like, yes, let's give some grace to some of these entertainers again, because again, they're getting up there. And what sucks too, I don't like a lot of the new cats, so it's hard to like be excited for what's next. Like I tell you, like my favorites of the current era are like Duckworth, Jasmine Sullivan, Anderson .Paak, Janelle Monáe, John Givens. Who else? There's a few others. Oh, I really like Amber Mark, but you know, the industry is just so different. I'm like, I just wonder what things are going to look like in the next 20 years as far as like performers and stuff like that. Cause man, yeah, I don't know. It's just a different time we're in. And then like, you know, I'm looking at the sales and stuff. I was looking at the numbers for all these R&B acts that have been dropping projects, and the numbers are all like super, super low. Maybe it's time for me to do another music video not music video, but music talk video after I finally release Mariah and release the new edition one. Cause yeah, it's a weird time. But I hope things work out for T-Boz. Because yeah, that is tough. All your business is out there, and then people don't think you're a viable act when you actually had like a serious condition. What she said ended up happening was when she had her C-section, because remember, she wasn't supposed to have kids anyway, right? But she had her C-section when she had her child chased 24 years ago, and there was scar tissue that somehow something happened, and scar tissue was moving and messed up something, and then she almost died, right? That's kind of what happened. But people were like speculating and putting stuff out there and talking about, oh, it's the sickle cell and she need to retire and all kind of stuff. I say give grace to these people while they're still here, right? Speaking of that, Usher. I've seen people posting that clip and they're like, they don't think it's him. I mean, I felt like that was him. I don't know, maybe my vision's bad, but all I know is this: I got tickets to the September 10th show, and so I think he's doing he got like 5 or 6 shows in New York, and I think we're like show number 4. All I know is I don't want to hear nothing about bronchitis or sore throat or pulled him up. He better be there, and I want a show, right? DC had sold out, and me and my friend were like, we'll just catch him in New York. So now that I'm traveling for a concert, I want to be entertained, okay? Usher better give me a show, all right? If his show ain't good, I'm taking down his So What Happened episode. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that I'm looking forward to that concert. It was hard. Like, it's hard living by the arena because Usher was just here last week. And when I was coming home from work, I'm watching everybody, you know, with their cool concert outfits going to the arena. And I'm like, dang, I still got to wait like 4 weeks. You know, I'm walking home, trying to not look at the crowd because I'm a sucker. I will stay going to a concert last minute because I almost was like, let me just see if I can get a nosebleed seat just to see just so I can get a sample of what I'm going to get in New York. But man, and then when I saw the clips, he brought out Raheem Devon, and I'm like, dang, man, he got all the good stuff going down at the DC show. Oh, man. But, yeah. Somebody said, what clip? There's a clip that was floating around where it's like him singing, yeah, like the opening of it, and people were like, they didn't think it was him. They felt like it was a body double. I was like, y'all, I don't know. That's a lot. Yeah, I don't see him doing anything like that. But from what I heard, the show has been really, really good, so we'll see that. I really enjoy Maxwell's Tiny Desk concert as well. Somebody asked me if I'm going to Vegas to see Janet. Look, I love her. I ain't got it. Okay. I have paid for a movie. I have paid for some music projects. I got a lot going on. I love her, but I just saw her a month ago. So I'm going to pass on Vegas. The only way I will go to Vegas to see Janet is if there are other people that are also performing that I would like to see. I don't know if Tony Braxton's show is still going. But if Tony is still out there, and I don't know if Mariah, like Tony, I've never seen a full Mariah show. If Tony and Mariah are still out there as well, then yeah, maybe I'll think about traveling out there. But I've seen Janet like 11, 12 times. So, you know, hey, send us a DVD. But good luck. Have a great time. Now I'm saying this now. We'll see in February if I come back on here like, yo, I went. It was the best time ever. Because y'all know I be talking about I ain't going, and then I be at everybody's show. Okay. Almost to the end of everything. I will say Usher too, though. He has a big tour that he's signed on. He took on a lot of dates, so hopefully he makes it through this tour. Right, that's a lot of dates to sign on for. So good luck with that. Let me read the chat, and then we'll kind of get down to these additional topics, and then we'll chop it up a bit. All right, y'all still cooking, DJ Vlad? Calvin, do you like mambo sauce? I do, but I don't eat it a lot, though. I mean, I'll use it on occasion. I like it with my wings. If I get like some wings that are fried like really hard, I like it with those. Let's see. Thank you, crazy homebody girl. She said, I eat good in DC. I'm gonna leave it at that. I was eating good too before I got sick, but not in DC. I got sick in LA. But yeah, I've always eaten good here. I love finding. Well, the cool thing about this area specifically is like you got DC right here, then you got all these dope spots in Northern Virginia, you got all these dope spots in Maryland, then Baltimore's right up the street. And if you feel like doing a road trip, Richmond has some dope spots too. So I love that. And then me and my friends sometimes we'll just go to New York all the time because New York has really great food. So I like to eat. I'm surprised I'm the size I am. I should be a whole lot wider. I'm just saying, like, man. Queen said he said he's going to stop doing videos. This is about Black Music Archive. I know he was saying he was going to stop doing a lot. I think, I don't know if it was specifically the videos that dive into like the dynamics of entertainers' voices or if he's doing like just the whole channel in general. I don't know, but I remember him making a post about falling back. Somebody said, you mean like Tasha K? Oh, I don't even follow her, but I guess whatever we're talking about, that's one that should be having some mess going on over there. Let's see. All right. Chili was a sensual dancer. Yeah, she was very sensual. I'll give her that. That's fair. When I'm looking at TLC with dancing, T-Boz danced the hardest. Left Eye was a little wild, but she had energy. And then Chili was always cute to me when it came to the dancing, right? Now, I say today, Chili be getting it in now. Like Chili said, I got something to prove. But when I be looking back, like if I watched that fan mail tour, even though I'll give it to Chili on when they did Shout. But when I look at the fan mail tour and they do that silly whole song and you see T-Boz was tearing that piece up. But yeah. Let's see. Somebody said T-Boz's book was good. That was a funny read. That was a really funny read. I got a lot of laughs out of that. Somebody said we need to start pushing R&B before it gets stolen from under us. They already did that part. And everything else because I'm tired of this trash hip hop being at the forefront of our culture. They done stole that too. And you see what we got right now. Somebody said we need another music talk video. Well, see, the great thing is now that I have finished a few projects, I kind of can have some of my life back. So I can finally put some work back into this channel. If you've noticed, I've done a lot of lives in the last year and a half versus pre-recorded videos. We used to never do a lot. We used to do maybe 6 or 7 lives a year. We're doing like 2 lives a month now just because I don't have the time that I once did. But now that a few things have been complete, I can have my life back. Some of it, because I still got other projects, but yeah. Because there was a period I was doing the music stuff. I was doing a short film. I was music director for a musical at the same time. I had transitioned out of the job with the kids, but I was still like there bi-weekly working with the kids, doing that stuff. Then I still got the podcast. And then what else do I have going? And then I still was trying to have somewhat of a social life, right? Then I became a gym head. I was in the gym 4 times a week. You can't tell anymore, but I'll get it back. So yeah, it was like, there's just not enough hours in the day to do everything I was trying to do. But now that we've completed a few things, I thank God we'll have a little bit more time. Let's see. SF said Akon would send his brother on stage when he didn't feel like performing. I saw him say that. Somebody said Braxton Family Values is a hot mess. I haven't watched. I like the Braxtons. I don't think that show is a good idea for them. I think for the kind of problems they have, it doesn't need to be on TV. They're clearly a family that has, and lots of families are like this. Like, if the opportunity came for my family to be on reality TV, I'd be like, no. As much as I love us, we don't need to be on TV either, right? They just, and I'm talking about the Braxtons. I just think for so much has happened, I don't think they're healed. And to put it in front of the world doesn't make it any better, right? But I do enjoy them. But yeah. Crystal Brewer said, all your fans are my age, and we are all premenopausal. You swing your neck too hard, and you'll mess around and pinch a nerve, get a hot flash, and trip and fall up and end up hospitalized. That's great. Yeah, because y'all, look, they were letting Usher have it when he said he had neck injury. I'm like, listen, I understood. I'm not even that old yet, but I'm not that. I get a crink in my neck, and that thing be lasting for 2-3 days. I was so mad one time. All I was doing was driving. and I knew I was gonna end up pulling it because I had this coat on that was a little. It was winter. It was like too puffy. And as soon as I tried to look back to reverse, I was like, ooh, I felt it. I was like, dang, my neck. This like right here was done for like a week. I was so pissed. And then that's when you gotta lay like on a really flat pillow because they say if your pillows are too high up, because I like a whole lot of pillows, that doesn't help. You need to almost just be laying on a flat surface so there's no tension on your neck. I'm like, dang, man. So injuries are starting to recover a little bit slower, but that means they only going to get worse, unfortunately for me. But yeah, okay. Thank you, Albert Choice. Maxwell's Tiny Desk was awesome, and that brother smooth. By the way, I want to make sure I have this right. I think it was CC, one of the mods. CC, I did not get to thank you on the last live because I didn't see your super chat and what you gave, but thank you for the birthday wish. That was very kind. So thank you for that. I meant to give you your shout out on that. Let's see. Seems like there won't even be any green light, good R&B neo soul acts for the radio. It's just going to be a really interesting time because I don't know if we're going to have the same collective experience. And I think about that every time I go to a concert, especially a concert with a lot of the older entertainers, where, you know, they sing a song and the entire arena knows all the songs, even generationally. And even though there are hits that are out now, I don't think music is a collective experience. And that includes television and movies as well. But with music, I think because, you know, we're no longer really glued to TV, so we're not watching music videos on TV. A lot of us are not listening to the radio. You know, we do our own thing. You stream, you find your own artist you into. So there's a lot of songs that you may love that nobody's ever heard and vice versa. And even when we're talking about like what's on the charts, there's lots of songs that have been on the charts for weeks and number one and people have never heard them. And so it's interesting. You know, times change, unfortunately, but I think we were in a better position when it came to consuming music 20, 30 years ago. I don't like where it's at right now, unfortunately. Somebody said Sexy Red is gross. Listen, I'm not her target audience, but I tell you what, it's very interesting to come out with a chapstick that's flavored like an STD. What the heck is that about? I'll leave it at that. Listen, y'all enjoy if that's what y'all into, but okay. Sam J, excited to see your new music video tomorrow. I hope y'all like it. I was nervous about putting it out. But yeah, so that's going to be really cool. I'm happy about that. Now, I'll put you in on some insight with that. That video was shot a long time ago, like 2 years ago, but I had to pause it because we started doing a movie. And then, like I said, I got an opportunity to be musical director for a musical at the same time. So I put all of my music endeavors on pause to finish those. And then I came back and picked up my project that's dropping soon this year, pretty much. So, yeah. And it was 97 degrees the day we filmed that video. I'll have some, as the projects and stuff roll out, y'all know I love doing behind the scenes stuff. I have like some behind the scenes stuff and insight about how everything went down and how we did it. All right. Let's see. Somebody said, so no puffy coat. I just need a puffy coat that my arms feel free in it. Like it was like everything was all stuffed and I was in that seatbelt. And as soon as I turned to try to look back, it was like, it didn't make a crack sound. You just felt the pull. You're like, oh, what is that? Right? Man. Let's see. Somebody said, Calvin, you had listeria. People have died. I don't know if it was listeria because they didn't, they did all the blood work and all that stuff. There still wasn't anything they could find, but who knows? I hope it wasn't that, but sheesh. Let's see. Somebody said, you put out the music video premiere on the live right now. Well, the song is released on all platforms technically at midnight. So those on the East Coast, you can hear the song in about 45 minutes. And then the video will be out tomorrow afternoon. So yeah. Really fun project. I'll talk about it a little bit later. Okay, I got a few other topics I want to cover, and then we'll wrap up. I got a few things. Okay. I want to say this. I don't know. We got a lot of celebrity content, but I saw the clip with Big Sean, right? where he was talking about his project and just some of the ups and downs you deal with releasing a project. And, you know, he kind of got emotional, started crying. So everybody was cooking him. And I was like, dang, man. See, this is why I think music sucks, right? I think when you have entertainers that are crying about their project, it's because they're actually passionate about what they do, right? And I will say I've enjoyed every Big Sean album that I've heard. But we're in this space where I think there's a lot of people in the music industry right now that don't even really care for music. They're just in it for clout, or they're in it for, you know, of course, fame and the money. But then you have people who really care about what it is that they do. And there's a craft to how they move, right? And, you know, he was just talking about how a lot goes into what he does and there's a lot of stress and everything. And I totally understand that. Like, I'm not going to lie. This has been one of the hardest 2 years for me personally, just because my plate was so full and everything was so, I felt like I wasn't getting any rest. Like I felt like everything was so crucial and in the moment, like when you're executive producing like a movie and it's on a scale where you're trying to get it in festivals and distribution and stuff like that, you know, you're not treating it like, you know, something you and your homeboys just do together real quick. It's like there's so much you have to do. And I remember I was on the phone with my friend today, and there was a moment where I was getting nervous because I didn't think the movie was going to happen. And I was stressing out because I'm like, well, we can't not do it. I done went on YouTube and asked these people for money to help me fund it. And these people have donated. We got to come out with something. But there was like a really bad roadblock that hit us that at that point, it was nothing we could do about it. Fortunately, we got it handled. But I was on the phone today, and I was talking about how I was so much had changed and how I was really moved by like how supportive my mom had been with the project. Because my mother took some years to kind of come around when it came to all my creative endeavors. She was a parent who wanted just go get one of them good government jobs and sit down somewhere. So now that she sees that ain't gonna be my journey, and you know, okay, well, my son likes to do music and he wants to do this, do that. She was finally like being like super supportive. And I remember today was like, well, and I was saying like I really want this project to come out because even my mom is excited about it. And she was like, well, why do you think she's excited about it? So I was trying to explain how, and I said this a little bit earlier, like missing that early dynamic of my family. Because like I said, the four of us were really close. My mother, father, and my brother. We were really, really close, did everything together, dinner every day at 5 o'clock together to table. You know, like that was our life, right? And so I was trying to explain that I felt like for my mother, because she got to see a few bits while we were putting it together. I was saying that I felt like for my mother, for her, it was like a memory of what was, since, you know, her husband and stuff died. And I couldn't get it out. Like I was about to start crying, and I don't like crying in front of people. So I was trying so hard to hold it together. And I started sounding like Big Mama off Soul Food when she was in the hospital with Ahmad. And so today was like, so, you know, why do you think so-and-so happened? I'm like, well, you know, and she knew what I was trying not to do. She was like, let it out, Michael, let it out. I'm like, I'm good. But I say all that to say, like, sometimes these projects can be draining. And I know for artists that are signed to a label, it's hell on earth because the labels don't believe in you like that. Which is one of the reasons why I never wanted to get signed. I just do my own thing independently and promote and make my own money off the side. But like, labels don't believe in the projects. Like even with Maxwell, you know what was crazy for Maxwell's debut album? They didn't believe in the project, right? Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite had been recorded like 2 years earlier and they shelved it. And the only reason they decided, all right, let's put it out was because D'Angelo had blown up with Brown Sugar. And they're like, oh, I guess we can do something with the sound. And then look how Maxwell blew up. So I get it for like a lot of people who are creative, who paint or, you know, do photography or do music or dance or act, or it's a lot of stress. And then the other thing is too, no matter how much you love something, there's no guarantee that the people may like what you got, right? You got to be ready for the criticism and the people that are going to say you suck and, you know, all of that, right? So yeah, like being creative with that kind of stuff is draining. And then especially for music, it's just not a forgiving industry. I just saw the story with Ari Lennox and how she was talking about she's in debt to the IRS. And, you know, in this current era, like the only way these artists make money is through touring because streams aren't doing anything, sales aren't doing anything. And we saw her experience on the last tour where people were throwing things at her because for some reason a label put her on a tour with somebody she has no connection with in regard to fan bases, right? So I just feel like, man, Big Sean, I felt all of that. Like, you know, he turned from that camera. He ain't want nobody to see him cry. I was like, yeah, I get it because I don't like crying in front of people. But man, it can be draining sometimes because when you're like really passionate about something. Because yeah, like I said, trying to do a music project and then do a movie and then still have the podcast and then still have the YouTube channel and then still work with the kids and then still do my 9 to 5 and then have a social life and try to date somewhere to mix somewhere. And that, like, it's a lot. So yeah, I was tired the last 2 years. Anyway, let's see. Gospel is the last genre where we've been able to keep, but I've noticed some creeping in we allow with certain white artists. My beef with gospel right now, I like the gospel from like the 90s and early 2000s. The gospel that's out now is cool, but they all keep trying to get like those giant Christian center stadium anthems. Like, give me some grit. I want some grit and some grease with my gospel if I'm gonna listen to it. Like, church folks, don't fight me, but a song I have never liked is Hezekiah Walker, Every Praise. Oh, I hate that song so much. And maybe I shouldn't say I hate it, but I can't stand it, mainly because I know the kind of work that Hezekiah used to make. So listening to that, I'm like, oh, God. And then it already sounds like a ripoff of Tina Turner's Simply the Best. Like, and then it makes me think, for those in Washington State, you might remember Centralia Factory Outlets, that commercial they had, as good as it gets. Dun, 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 Centralia Factory Outlets. Like, I think of that. So by the time the Hezekiah Walker song comes on, I'm like, and then the song just never went away. Yeah, but there's some great people in gospel though. Somebody said that show should have never aired, to be honest. I think that's about the Braxton family values. I think I like them. They're entertaining, but they just had so many personal struggles that, some of that didn't need to be broadcast. Or they should have kind of approached it where just show the happy stuff. Because clearly, I think reality shows really mess up a lot of relationships. If I ever was on a reality show, it would be something where it's just me and it has no effect or connection to anybody in my life. Like, I wouldn't do any reality show with my family. I wouldn't do any reality show with a close friend or anybody else dating, like, because I feel like that just messes up too much stuff. Because again, reality shows, they harp on extremities. Because if you think about it, most of us kind of live quiet lives. And most of our lives are, when we're not working on something or have something going on, our lives are boring. We go to work or class, you hang out with some friends here and there, you eat, you sleep, you call, check on your relatives. That's life. So the idea of being in drama every season and you got to crank it up, and this person you got to fight, and now y'all throwing bottles at each other and so on and so forth, and it's on site with this person, and then here come the baby mama drama. Like, some of that stuff is so construed and set up to kind of keep the shows interesting that, you have a lot of reality shows where there's almost fake scenarios that are created to keep the show running, but they end up becoming reality. Like, I do question how many people have had children with somebody from a reality show because of the circumstances of the show they're in. They weren't in a real relationship with the person, but it was beneficial for them to kind of be an item, and somehow now they got a child together. Imagine that. Crazy. Let's see. Somebody said, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't hear that. I don't know what I said, but maybe that's Sexy Red's chapstick. Let's see. Somebody said, I'll be watching a music video with a magnifying glass. Wait. I don't know what you're looking for. No, I was kidding. Yeah, artists are going through hell. I agree. Somebody said they like Chloe's latest project. I like that as well. That was a great project. I hate that it didn't chart. But yeah. Let's see. Okay. I'm not trying to be that person, and I do want to check out their project. I know Day 26 just released a project. I'm going to check it out. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw that clip where old boy from the group was saying that, he's offended that, Day 26 is not seen as one of the top 5 greatest R&B male groups of all time. I would love to hear your opinions on this. I will say this. I think vocally they are an excellent group. Every member could sing and sing well. I would definitely put them way up there vocally. But if we're talking about a commercial run, I can name tons of groups that had a way better run than them. And still vocally, we're okay as well. But because he didn't give context as to whether he was talking vocals or just the group in general. If we're talking a group in general with impact, I'll do this. I'm gonna name some groups. Y'all tell me who would be the top 5, but or y'all can tell me who got to come out so we can put Day 26 in the lineup. But look, you got Boyz II Men, Jodeci, and mind you, I'm only specifically naming mainly the groups out of the 90s, a handful from the early 2000s, and a handful from the 80s. I'm totally skipping everything out of the 70s and the 60s and the early 80s and the current era, because really there ain't no groups out right now. But yeah, like they said top 5 of all time, right? Boyz II Men, Jodeci, Drew Hill, I was about to say Drew Hall. That's my Dormant Howard. After 7, Mint Condition, Tony, Blackstreet, 112, New Edition, Silk, Next, Rough Ends, Velvet DeVoe, High Five, LSG, TGT, Guy, Jagged Edge, Troop, Levert, The Whispers, Izzy Brothers, Gap Band, Zap, The Boys. I'm gonna just stop there, but not to be messy, but all of those groups had a better chart run than Day 26. And so, and when I'm saying chart run, I'm talking about like they either have some kind of certification, they have top 10 singles. Unfortunately for Day 26, because they were under Diddy, you know, that kind of limited, you know, what their trajectory was going to be, but they just never really blew up like that. I appreciated the song Since You've Been Gone. That was a great single. I thought Got Me Going was okay for what it was, but to me, they never really were able to get to their full potential because of label logistics. So I think that's why people don't put them in the conversation. Let me see what y'all are saying here. Let's see. What up? Oh, what up, Nan Nelson? Look, we ran into each other at the Metro. And like that was my first day going to work, and I was so self-conscious about how I looked because I lost all that weight. And I was like, who is this coming up to me? And then she's like, I'll follow your channel. I'm like, oh, what's up? Yeah. So good seeing you in person. That was cool. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, wait, I still got to go to this other part. Somebody said Big Sean's not doing well, too. The music is not bad, but something's missing. I'm not feeling his new music. I have to still listen to whatever the new stuff is that's out. Somebody said, also, people don't appreciate the work that goes into making music and still look at it like a hobby. If you only knew how much you got to go through. For me, I self-produce all my stuff, so it's a little easier for me, but it's still a lot of work. You still got to be a fan and a critic of yourself in order to really make stuff really, really great. JB said, but I'm also an indie filmmaker trying to get off this government job. Listen, I'm using my current 9-to-5 to fund out all the projects I want to do. That's how I'm moving. Let's see. Somebody said, I'd rather hear Big Sean talk about his music journey than why he won't marry Janae Aiko. Same here. Listen, talk to me about the music. Y'all personal lives, I'm not pressed about. Let's see. Let me drink mine. I need another sip of this. All right. This is ginger tea, by the way. There ain't no alcohol in it. Somebody was asking like, is there liquor in your tea? First of all, after being sick the way I was sick, I don't ever want to drink again. I have no desire for a drink. And I used to love me a good bourbon, like a good old fashioned, but I never want to drink again. And I didn't even drink when I got sick. Well, while I was there, I wasn't even drinking, but it's like you get sick, you don't want nothing in your body that is not good for you. Like, man. Somebody said, I haven't listened to any gospel released after 2005. Somebody said, not you dragging that song. Somebody said, they're trying to appeal to the inspirational lane. That's exactly what that is. And I'm like, if you're going to be inspirational, but I still need some crank. Like, I like some gospel with some oomph. Like, give me like some John P. Key show up. That's why I still rock with Kirk Franklin. Like, he does a lot of inspirational stuff, but his music still has some knock to it, right? Like, I like some Grit with Mine. I like some Dietrich Haddon, How to Praise Him type stuff. Kiara Sheard, Let Go. Give me some oomph. I love all the old stuff. Going Up Yonder. Jesus Is Mine. Right? I don't even be in church like that, but I love a nice throwback gospel song. God Is. Like all them songs where you felt whatever they were singing about. Like you felt the emotion. You felt the person losing their job while they were singing that song. Like this new stuff is so, it's too coloring bookish. I need some oomph. Man. Poison Ivy said, Calvin, please, the outlet commercial. Yeah, look, they need to bring jingles back. You notice like the commercials, a lot of the businesses don't have songs anymore. Like, bring the jingles back. That's why everybody's pissed off now. You don't have nothing to sing along to. Like, I was like, the other day, that Mentos commercial was in my head all day for some reason. I was like, why? Or even with sitcoms, with theme songs, all the theme songs are going. Think back to like how back in the day, there would be shows you didn't even watch, but you knew the theme song. Like, I know the theme song, the step-by-step by heart, but I don't remember ever watching an episode. But I know that step-by-step theme song. Full House, I ain't watched like that, but I remember the theme song, right? Them theme songs used to get you through, man. Like, it's like a memory. Like, think about, there are people who have never seen an episode of Fresh Prince but know the theme song, right? Bring back the jingles and the theme songs. Bring it back the jingles and the commercials. Let's see. Brooke Smith, have I listened to Flow? I haven't listened to whatever they just came out with, but I did get their EP from what was that, a few years back? And I remember the song they had with Missy, the group from the UK. Yeah. Omega, Day 26 had incredible vocals. I think the fact that Diddy was involved screwed them. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, they vocally were an excellent group. I'll put them up. I don't know about top 5, but they would rank higher than some of them groups I named earlier vocally, because they are excellent singers. And because we also watched their journey, if you watched Making the Band, you saw the nonsense they had to deal with. So yeah, vocally, I think they're an excellent group. But as far as if we're talking about the conversation of just where they stand in music commercially, if that's the approach he was having, they wouldn't be in the top 5 for me. Sorry, because yeah, they definitely sang circles around 112. Let's see. See, Earth, Wind, and Fire. See, I didn't even include them just because they're from a different era. I purposely bypassed the 70s because if we bring in the acts from the 70s, that's going to clear out a lot of the acts out of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s right off the bat. Somebody said, "Oh, what up?" One man went to Mo. Greetings from Nigeria. Greetings. What time is it over there? I know it's y'all probably about 6 or 7 hours ahead of us. Calvin Michael, speaking of Nigeria, are you up on the Miss Universe South Africa drama? I'm not 100%. I know it had something to do about where she was initially from, but I didn't really read up on the story. Queen said even the choirs are smaller. Went from almost 100 member choirs to 15. That's because now they do praise teams. They'll be up there with 6 people. All right, let me get through these last 2 topics, and then we'll chop it up. This is actually a question for y'all. I saw this. I don't remember what I saw it on one of these crazy blog posts. This had me stressed out. They were saying you had to get rid of one of these movies, right? And these are all biopics. I was about to say biopics. 5 Heartbeats technically is not a biopic, but all right. One of these you had to get rid of. 5 Heartbeats, The Temptations, or the New Editions miniseries. I was stressed, but if I had to get rid of one, and it's only on a technicality, I would yank the New Edition one only because it's technically a series and not a movie. And so I would put that in the category with Jackson 5, American Dream, and then let them 2 hash it out. That would be the only reason I would pick it, because I could not pick one. Because to be fair, I do think that was an excellent series. And honestly, I wish the rest of the biopics that come out would take that same formula, expand over 3 or 4 days so we can get a full story. If they ever do a Phyllis Hyman biopic or documentary, give me 3 or 4 days, right? The Michael Jackson movie that's coming out in, I think, February, cool, but I would have loved to just have a series of like 4 episodes, but with the same budget as the movie. I would have loved that. All of the I don't know what's going on with Uptown. I know they were doing the Uptown Records project, but then COVID hit. I haven't heard much about it, but I would hope, again, it's like that series. When they do that series, you can get all the good details in, right? When it's just a movie, they got to rush and take out so much stuff and gut stuff. Like, man, 5 Heartbeats I almost picked, but that's a favorite of mine, so I wasn't gonna let it go. Plus, Robert Townsend was a mentor for my Pull Over So I Can Hit You project, so I wasn't gonna burn the bridge with Robert. Even though I don't personally know him, the director does. So yeah, let's see. Okay, let's see where we're at. Oh, last thing. Oh, and then I was gonna talk about really quick as well. This was also the birthday of Michael Jackson. Y'all know I am a member of the Jackson family fan club, right? I love the Jacksons, me personally, all of them. Even LaToya gets some love from me, okay? She got a song or 2 I like, right? Even Randy, okay? I liked his song, Honey, Love, and Perpetrators, right? All of them got something I liked. But I did want to say, I saw what Tank said some days back where he was saying that Chris Brown was a better entertainer than Michael Jackson. I said this before when I did the video with the Beyonce versus Michael Jackson conversation. I wish we could just let artists exist as they are. The more we try to make artists measure up to somebody else, it sucks for them. Like if I were Chris Brown, I wouldn't want somebody saying I'm better than Michael Jackson, because now that means automatically I can't exist in my own legacy. I have to exist in the shadow of somebody else because that's what I have to measure up against, right? And I think it takes away. And at the same time, when it comes to Michael Jackson, the fact that he is still the standard of measurement answers all questions. That's all I'm just going to say. The fact that every single time they have these conversations, Michael is still the standard of measurement, that just goes to show how big and massive Michael was. But I think the idea of just letting artists exist as they are, and I also say when it comes to the conversation of comparing artists, I think people have to get out of the habit of comparing on a parallel structure when it's like measuring up, checkbox for checkbox, because it's never a fair argument. If you're going to have comparisons of artists, I always say, look at it through a spectrum. This artist may be a really good dancer, but they may not be as great as a vocalist, or they may have better stage shows, but they never sold this many. Like, that spectrum is a better way of looking at different things, because that way you can appreciate all of the layers of an artist. When you just blatantly say somebody's better than somebody, what are you measuring that by? Right? And then it stirs up stuff. And then it just starts the stand wars, because on Twitter, that's all they love to do is argue. So I would like for people to get in the habit of letting people just exist as they are, and also let Michael rest, please. Like, they be doing this to kind of trigger things. And then some of this is generational too. Because then what also kind of sucks is, for people who aren't or weren't around to experience certain eras, all they can go off of is what they've seen on YouTube or Wikipedia or on the internet. And so they have to create what they think the experience was. So please, people, can we leave the Michael comparisons out of it? Right? Same thing with Beyonce. When y'all let her have her accolades and let them be for her. Y'all always trying to put her up against somebody or whatever. Like, the idea of comparing everybody, just, I think for artists it sucks. I think you can have your comparisons, but I think when it's presented in a way that people look at it, well, if somebody's better, you just erase. It's almost like saying, like, once you all agree that somebody's better, you can erase the other person. That's the way that people kind of move. I don't like that. Anyway, that's my soapbox. Oh, I forgot about Pretty Ricky. Ashley Cunningham, 112 had more commercial success. Oh, they had a whole lot more commercial success, way more. I just don't think they could sing like Day 26. But as a group, look, they got gems. They got a whole bunch of them, right? Somebody was saying I didn't like Slim's voice. I like Slim's voice. You know what? Slim has a song with Tiny from Escape that I really, really like, but I don't know if it ever came out. It's called like I Just Can't or Gotta Get Over You or something like that. That was a really, really nice song. It came out, had to be like 2005, 2006. But no, I like 112. Let's see. Shia. Yep, Shia's another group. Okay, somebody said they get rid of 5 heartbeats. Okay, y'all, there's too many 5 heartbeats in here. I just want y'all to know that. I see a lot of 5 heartbeats getting in the gut. Okay. Temptations said it was too long. Somebody said they haven't watched the New Edition one. That was really, you got to watch it. That was so well done. That's why I was saying that should be the standard for all biopics if they're going to do a series, because that was excellent. Wasn't the Temptations originally aired as wasn't it? Oh, it was 2 days, right? I think it aired over 2 days. That's why it's so long. Dang, man, now I got to go back to the drawing board. Okay, well then, since the 5 heartbeats ain't a real group, we're going to move them out. Happy? All right, so Temptations and New Edition can stay. Got me right together, SF. Okay. Let's see. Oh, y'all in here going off. Wait, what is going on? Somebody said my family would bust out laughing whenever I would wear my mom's wig and sing it. I need to know the context of what story you're telling. Okay. Hey, Bibby, thank you for that. Way to support artist number 1. Send a thank you to the artist by direct from their websites, play, stream, playlist, like the YouTube videos and comment, go to their shows and buy their merch, CDs so they can get paid. Yeah, merch and the shows are how these people are making most of their money, right? Like I said, one of my favorite entertainers right now is Duckworth. I notice he does a lot of shows and does a lot of merch, right? He also got lots of projects always coming out, like all the time. Every time I turn around, he got something. I'm like, dang, I can't even keep up, right? Breonna said, I ain't getting rid of the Temptation series for nobody. I have seen it 150 times at this point. That's how I got introduced to the Temptations. I kind of knew their music, but like I knew My Girl. I knew a few other songs, but that movie was my introduction into them. Now the other Temptations ain't like the movie. They felt like Otis kind of centered it around him, but or their families at least, because the rest of them was already gone, but or most of them. But yeah. Somebody said Tank just wanted attention. Sound about right. Now he is going deaf in one ear, so that might have played a role too. Course correction said Latoya has a Grammy. She made it happen through sheer will, and she got a Grammy certificate. She got like 2 things going on. Let's see. Silent artist Chris don't even acknowledge that comparison. Chris responded, and he pretty much said what I just said, where he was like, he doesn't want to jump into kind of like that comparison thing, because he pretty much said, without Michael Jackson, there'd be no me, right? I don't like the idea of people trying to erase the legacies of everybody that came before in order to hype up whoever's in the now, especially in the now when the music industry is uneventful, right? So yeah. When Love said you can't compare those two. That's how I feel. And I would have never even thought of Chris versus Mike. Other than dancing, to me, they are totally different in everything, right? Maybe they share similar ideas like visual stuff, but I think they're very different artists, So yeah. I thought they would have at least done Chris versus Usher. That's what they normally like to do. Or Prince and Michael. They like to do that one too, which those are the 2 ends don't meet. Somebody said, I would never compare Aretha and Tina, 2 artists who stand on their own. No need to compare. They both did something important for music. Exactly. Like, let them exist as is. Right? Man. All right, we're about to wind down. Because, yeah. Tank and Jay Valentine, Slow is Nice. My favorite Jay Valentine song? He had a song called She Worth the Trouble. I used to play that out in college. I played that. That and Q Amy... Steal My Show. I used to play them 2 songs back to back all day, all night. Those were my songs back in the day. Man. Let's see. I haven't heard the Victoria Monet and Usher song yet, but I saw the artwork for it, so I'll get to it when I get to it. Oh, somebody said, Calvin, we were talking about the Golden Girls theme song as gospel. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Oh, the viral clip. Yeah, that was funny, too. That viral clip, that was funny. Homeboy was singing. Right. How they'll do Serena Williams and saying Naomi Osaka is better than her. How can we compare when Osaka is coming from playing against Williams when she isn't in her prime anymore? That's kind of like they do that. They do that in everything, sports, music, when they try to make the comparisons with people, and because it's especially if like they're all still kind of somewhat active or not too far removed from their careers, like the ones that are older, right? So sometimes I'll see like on the post about which woman entertainer is the best dancer, and it'd be like Janet, Maya, Sierra, who else dances? Beyonce, Britney, that new girl Tate. I forgot her last name. But, they'll put all of them in there. And then, because of the generational differences, they'll be like, Janet don't be even moving. She don't be doing that. I'm like, well, she's 58. If you bring up Janet, why does Janet actually be getting it in? But, yeah, the Janet that is Janet is 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, right? So I'm like, why are you trying to compare? Or they'll throw Tina in there too, right? But people are not familiar with Tina Turner's work or whatever. So Tina don't be doing that. I'm like, y'all, these are some weird conversations. I think some of y'all just want to argue. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, those are all my topics. So we'll chop it up for a few minutes and then I'm gonna get off this. This has been really dope. I can't wait to see you all when I come back from my 3-corner trip. We've got so many things to do. Let's see. And I'll say this about Janet too. Even with her slowing down and getting older, Janet dances so clean. Now, I'm not trying to be messy or shady or nothing. Like I said, when I went to the Missy show, really great show, but Sierra performed. Sierra was great. But what I noticed by watching her set is that, and even some of the Missy dances, but what I noticed with watching Janet's set, Janet, that team, when I say clean, and with Janet, she only had like 4 or 5 dancers, so everybody's exposed. You see everything. Like every time they did anything with every arm is just straight, crisp. Every head is at the same. Everything. She might be a little slower, but when you're talking that technique, it hasn't gone anywhere. Like they are really precise, and that precision is there, right? That's what I appreciate because it takes effort to be clean. Like sometimes steps be looking like super simple, like, oh, they ain't even doing nothing. But yeah, now try to do that with a handful of people and everybody be exactly together, right? You can kind of disguise that when you got 20 dancers around you, but when you only got 4 or 5 and everybody's exposed, and then you're the only woman surrounded by male dancers, all eyes are on you. So very interesting. Anyway, let's see. What else y'all talking about before I go to sleep? Yeah, being clean is hard. That's the part I used to hate so much, especially when I was still on dance teams. We sometimes have to go over a segment of a routine over and over, like a 20-second part, 1,000,000 times until everybody's arms were right. I'm like, man, okay, but I get it. Tiana Taylor, I like her. Let's see. I went to both concerts. Janet's team was dancing clean like someone who was holding the coat backstage in case somebody messes up. Like, she don't be missing no steps. Well, listen, when she does mess up a step, I do notice that what she'll do is she'll just clap. Like, if she ever misses a step, she will not jump back in. She'll let that whole cycle of choreography play out, and then she'll come in on the next part. She'll start clapping. That's what she like to do. Victoria Monet Normani. The Normani project was okay. I want to hear her more up front in her production. Like, I want her to have brighter music. But I like her. I'm rooting for her. Same with Victoria Monet. That's on. I don't know who this is. Bryson Stanley. I don't know who this is. Calvin, where's the music video on your YouTube channel? It's not out yet. It comes out at noon tomorrow. So yeah. So make sure y'all spread it around. And then the actual project that it's a part of is supposed to drop September 20th. I had to everything was supposed to be out August 23rd, but I was sick in July, so I wasn't able to get my masters and stuff in on time. So I had to push everything back by a month. But this is actually a cool idea because now I'm debating if I want to host a listening party or not. I got like 2 weeks to figure it out. But in the event that I do, this might be something I open up to YouTube in addition to my actual networking friends and stuff. So we'll see. So it's some good that came out of this, right? Thank you, Bryson. Now I know who you're talking about. That's the girl. She was murdered by that white lady when she went by the door and the lady shot through the door. Sad, ridiculous, of course. People are just hateful. I don't get it. There's some folks I don't deal with, but I don't have it in me to just be wanting to take people out. Like, if I don't deal with you, I don't deal with you. I just go about my business. That's it. Hey, Calvin, I'm late to the live. Did you see what's going on with Venezuela? With the election? U.S. better keep an eye open. I feel like we one step from the same thing, to be honest. Yeah, Amelia Starr. That's crazy. That's wild. Somebody said, what exactly are masters? Is it like a physical copy of your music you have to submit? So, lesson learned. So, what I didn't understand when I made my very first album is that mixing and mastering are two separate things. I thought they were the same thing, right? So, my very first album, one of these days I'm going to go back and properly master it, but it's kind of just mixed and not really mastered very well. So, mixing is, you get your mic levels and everything, you get all your sounds and stuff to sound how you want it to sound in studio. Mastering is setting it up so when it plays from any device, it's going to have the same kind of quality. So with my first album, it sounds amazing in headphones. It sounds amazing in my studio. But if you play it from like a phone speaker without headphones, you're like, If you play it in a car, some of the songs, the bass is too overbearing. So with masters that I'm talking about, once I had finished all the recording and everything and all the mixing and everything, because I actually work with a studio this time as far as mastering, I had to send the studio the final wave version, which it's like a wave version. You'll send like 16 megahertz by 44. I forgot the frequencies, whatever, but you send it by a specific, or 24. You send it by a specific set of frequencies and everything, and you send it as a wave file, and then you send it to whatever engineer is going to master it. And then they're going to clean up the things to make it so that the sound plays through whatever device with the same quality. So your master will be that version that you can submit anywhere, right? And then normally, depending on the kind of studio you're with, you'll get two masters. You'll get the 16-bit and you'll get the 24-bit. 24-bit is a lot of times more so for CD quality. And sometimes if you're trying to upload to streaming, they don't want 24-bit, they'll take 16. And so 16-bit is normally what a lot of music is being uploaded in now. So sometimes you'll hear people say the conversation of music doesn't sound the same on streaming versus on a CD. It's because of that conversation of 16-bit versus 24. Or even like when you're talking vinyls, but not the new vinyls that are, I don't know what they're doing with these new vinyls, but like the old vinyls, there's a different sound with how they sound versus like a song you may have purchased on iTunes years ago. So that's what that is. But your master is like that final version of your songs. And then you might have a physical one. I just have the digital ones right now because I'm only releasing digitally right now. I ain't selling that many records if you spending money to make CDs. So yeah. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm mixing I'm mixing Venezuela up with Brazil. I'm thinking of the Brazil election. Venezuela. You guys are talking about the gangs. Wait, what? No, Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes in Colorado. I saw the story. I didn't read it. I saw the clip of the people with the AR-15 in that corridor. I don't know what that's about, but okay. There's a lot going on here. Yeah. Let's see. The woman who murdered her was only convicted of manslaughter. Really? And this lady that shot her through the door, right? You know what they're going to say? They probably said that because she shot through the door, she didn't know if she killed her or not. And that's probably why they only gave her manslaughter. You see how they be playing these stupid games? Like, ugh. Hey, Baby said, you have to keep count while music screaming and blares. Keep your pacing, footing, watch for chords, change clothes quickly. Yeah, that touring life and that performing is a lot. And not missing your cues, especially at a stadium or arena show, because you might miss your cue and be in the wrong spot and one of them pyrotechnics set you on fire, like shoot up out of the floor. Like, man, you got to be careful with that. I saw the story with Namibia. Did you hear about Namibia? They're killing the elephants to feed starving people. Yeah, I saw they were going to kill about 700 or 800 different animals to try to help with what's happening with I don't know if it's famine but it's like 1.2 million people are not in a good position right now, and they're trying to find ways to remedy that. Like when I tell you there's so much going on in the world, like if your life is relatively peaceful, be grateful. That's all I'll say, because there's so many people dealing with so much. Yes, and today would have been Michael's 66th birthday. It's crazy. Michael ain't even here no more. Isn't that wild? Man. RDX said, wow, thank you. I always hear about owning your masters, but never really knew what it meant. Now, that's a different conversation. Now, that conversation, what you're talking about as well, owning your, so the masters I'm specifically talking about are the actual tracks, right? The tracks that get submitted to be used in the streaming services and stuff like that. But then masters as well, this is the conversation of publishing. That is what you're talking about, right? So like once an artist owns their masters, they can do whatever they want and license their music and use it in soundtracks and stuff like that. That's why people were pissed off with Michael Jackson when he got the Beatles catalog, because now he could, use the music of a lot of people to, do whatever he wanted. But he also did good things with it, like giving Little Richard all of his masters because the labels never gave him his. So yeah, owning your masters is how you make a whole lot of money, right? Because now you have the rights to do whatever you want with your music. There's a lot of artists who've made great music and don't own their masters. Labels own it. And the challenging part with that is sometimes a label will fold and disappear, or it's never bought out or anything like that, and everything disappears with that label. And there's some artists who are never going to get the royalties and payments that they should have gotten because they don't even know where to trace or track some of the stuff that they have. So yeah, masters is kind of a layered conversation. So there's masters in regard to the conversation of business, and then there's masters in the conversation in regard to the technicalities when it comes to recording. So yeah, two different things, but yeah. You put your music on SoundScan, just so you get all the revenue you can. You put your music in SoundScan, right, Calvin? Just want you to get all the. Are you talking about Sound Exchange? Because SoundScan, those are people that just count album sales. But I think you're talking Sound Exchange. Right now, mine it'll be on everything that you can stream on, everything, and then all of my stuff is licensed through ASCAP. So I definitely get some nice little royalties here and there. There's people who used to be trying to side eye me because I would always put like a snippet of my songs at the end of the videos. People be talking their trash, but you know what? I was getting paid. Listen, I got to market myself somehow. I'm real nice because I don't bombard y'all with my music. I kind of just put it in there a little bit. I could be somebody that just chase y'all down. You gonna listen to this album? I was never that person. But yeah. Oh, Silent Artist. Okay, yeah, I figured it was Sound Exchange. Yeah, so I'm familiar with them too. Yeah. Okay, guys. This has been fun. Hold on. Tykel. I'm a Tykel because I rock with you. Let me get you the last comment. Calvin, what projects do you think TLC should do since T-Boz wants to stop touring? I would love for a lot of the seasoned artists that are more so kind of like just touring, but maybe not doing music anymore. I would love to see a lot of them go into like mentoring the newer acts. But TLC, I've always wanted to see go into more acting because I always thought TLC was funny. I always thought they were hilarious. I don't know why they never had a sitcom deal back in the day or anything like that. But T-Boz is a songwriter. She does a lot of work, and I've seen her do a lot of songwriting for like K-pop artists overseas. I remember that song. It's called like "I'll Take You to Where the Rainbow Ends." I can't remember the group or the act that she'd done that with, but it was like a K-pop or J-pop act. And you know, she has done some production stuff. You know, she's one of the producers of ATL. Chili, I don't know what Chili's been up to, but I would like to see them more in like a mentoring role, or I don't know. But everybody doesn't want to do that either, too. So if that ain't your gift, it ain't your gift. But I don't know. That is a great question. I don't know what else I could see them doing if they're not going to do music. Chili will probably try to do some solo stuff. I do think T-Boz might do a spot date here and there over the next few years, but TLC's been touring heavily since about 2013. So yeah, I think they've probably gotten into a space where they have enough to live off of, where they don't have to tour anymore. So, you know, I get it. Brooke Smith, people will clown people for the dumbest things. How is it embarrassing to put your own music at the end of your own video? Oh, if they didn't like the music, or if they didn't like the songs. That's what that was about. Some folks were like, "Ooh, I used to turn the video off right before the song came on." I'm like, damn, y'all some hating ass mother. No, I was kidding. But yeah. Yeah, but hey, listen, I found creative ways to get the most I can get out, because I already knew like most of you are here for YouTube, right? So if I'm trying to get the most I can get out of my streams, put your song at the end of your video, because I already have all my accounts synced together. Like there's a Calvin Michaels music account, but it's also synced to this account, and then it's also synced to Tidal and Spotify and Apple and all that. So yeah, if I put a 30-second snippet of a song of mine on one of my videos that gets 50,000 views, technically it counts as a stream. So I get my money, right? Versus trying to make everybody go to I don't do anything on SoundCloud minus the podcast, making everybody try to go to Spotify, right? So yeah, it's just called being strategic. That's all it is. Yeah. Somebody said probably the same people coming in and trolling in the comment section. Well, what that's about is, listen, I think people know if we're talking life, politics, music, that's my bailiwick, right? Music is a bit more vulnerable because music is subjective, right? And so I think for some folks who may not necessarily like me as a person or like my content, they know I'm passionate about my music. So if there's something that they can try to do to get under my skin, they know the one thing to go after is the music, right? That's how they're going to move, right? It is what it is. I ain't losing no sleep. I know my stuff is good, especially what's about to come out. Listen, y'all ain't heard nothing new from me in 5 years. Imagine the growth. Anyway, this has been really cool, guys. I'm going to bed. I've said it like 50 times and I still haven't gone. So yeah, and also thanks to those who were able to join us on the rewind last night. Lots of fun, interesting conversation. And yeah, so I will see you guys. And yeah, like I said, for anybody in Miami, pull over so I can hit you with streaming on the 31st at Lyric Theater at 4:20 p.m. For those in Miami. We're also screening again in LA in October. As I get more information about other cities or distribution, I will share it with you all as it comes. Anyway, I am out. I will see you guys. Mind your business so that you can age well, and we're out of here. All right, folks. Good night.